Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto forcefully taken out of Konoha and left to die part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Shouldn't we just kill it instead of leaving it to chance? A middle-aged man questioned, looking down at the unconscious monster. I don't want this thing finding its way back to the village, he stated, disgust evident in his voice. A bitter hatred so deep in his soul the day it murdered his wife and daughter. The Sandaime Hokage told them, practically praised, that it was supposed to be seen as a hero. The idea filled him with revulsion. How could he ever treat this demon as a hero? No, we'll leave him here. He doesn't know which direction Konoha is in, so we'll never see the kid again anyways, the second man replied pointedly. Unlike his partner, he never truly hated the kid. He didn't believe that this small child could ever be the QB in human form, or whatever bullshit propaganda the villagers spewed. However, a fat merchant offered a lot of Ryo to make the kid disappear. Times are tough, and he needed to make ends meet. The middle-aged man sked. Whatever, let's just get out of here, the older male sneered. He turned his back and took off back toward the village. The second man looked down at the knocked-out child guilty. He let out a tired sigh and rubbed his eyes with his thumb and index finger. I'm sorry, kid, I hope you find a place where you belong, he said softly before taking off after his partner. Neither of the men realized their altercation between them had been observed. A small shadowy figure waited patiently in the vegetation, its slitted emerald eyes watching the sleeping child curiously. Once it safely assumed the two men wouldn't return, it leaped out of the bushes and landed softly on the child's stomach. The moonlight that broke through the canopy showed the creature to be a small fox kit. Its two red tails swished back and forth as it examined the target of its interest. The small child has spiky golden blonde hair that seemed to light up the night. It reflected the moonlight radiantly. 3 unique whisker-like birthmarks on each cheek. One could argue it made the boy look more cat-like, or perhaps fox-like. Though, what truly caught the young kit's interest is that the boy smelt heavily of foxes. The Kitsun tilted its head side to side before letting out a soft yip and jumping off the blonde's stomach. The fox took off at a leisurely pace back toward its den to inform the rest of its skulk. A few hours passed by swiftly before light pierced through the forest canopy. Sapphire blue eyes lazily opened, looking up at the green roof. I don't remember going into the woods, the boy thought, then wincing from a sharp pain in his head. He reached up to his head and rubbed his head soothingly. Strangely, it felt wet and cold. He pulled his hand down to look and saw it lightly covered in a crimson-red liquid. Blood? Why am I bleeding? He wondered, before dawning realization set in. Starting to panic, he quickly sat up, trying to figure out where he is. He tried desperately, focusing on the last thing that he remembered. Flashback. The young whiskered boy had been wandering the streets late at night. He had been evicted from the orphanage not too long ago. He never understood why the villagers called him crude names, hatefully glared, and abused him. Yet, it is all he's ever known since his first conscious memory. When he had lived in the orphanage, a place that never felt like home. The mother matron kept him locked away in his own tiny room. They rarely fed him, sometimes forcing him to go days without food. They refused to let him play with the other children, and wouldn't allow him to learn. He is isolated. Occasionally, he would be woken up through violence, because as his caretaker declared, a demon shouldn't be allowed to sleep peacefully. He arrived at the playground and walked over to the swing set. He sat there quietly, rocking back and forth, trying to wrap his head around his short life. Why does everyone hate me? He wondered while wishing that someone would tell him, so he could possibly fix the problem. He didn't act any differently than other kids his age, at least he didn't think he did. He occasionally stared deeply in mirrors, painstakingly looking for any sort of defect. However, the only unusual physical trait he could pinpoint are his whiskers. That couldn't be enough to warrant such intense hatred, right? If he asked an adult why they hated him, or what he did wrong, they would only sneer and tell him, you know what you did, demon. Lost in his own thoughts, he failed to notice 2 chunin stalking him. Only the snapping of a small twig managed to knock the blonde out of his daze. He felt someone glaring at him with murderous intent, and that scared him. He jumped to his feet and quickly scanned his surroundings. Who's there? I'm warning you, he yelled out, hoping to scare whoever is watching him. He put up a brave front, but he knew it wouldn't work. An older man burst out in front of him, which caused him to fall flat on his rear end. His bright eyes looked up to his would-be attacker. He has ragged brown hair that loosely covered his right eye, a grotesque scar peeking out from behind his bangs. The man glared hatefully, filled with loathing. Not too tough now, are you, demon? You'll pay for what you did to my family, the elderly man sneered, forcing his killing intent to wash over the young boy. While the amount of killing intent is minor, pathetic in actuality, to an inexperienced person such as a child, it felt like a lot. I didn't do anything, the boy cried out, which only seemed to upset the man more. He crawled backward to quickly get some space from the man. He knew that he needed to run, to hide, or he would be seriously hurt. Sudden pain rocketed from the back of his head. He rolled onto the ground, clutching where the pain radiated from. It felt as if someone hit him with the blunt end of a kunai. "You're making a scene, hero," an unknown voice whisper shouted. "Let's hurry and get this over with. The faster he's out of the village, the faster we get paid and get home," the male voice commented. That is the last thing he heard as darkness swallowed him up, and he drifted off into a dreamless slumber. Flashback end. His sapphire blue eyes widened in fear. He isn't in Konoha anymore. Questions started flooding his young mind, to which he had no answers for. Where did they leave me? Which way is home? Then, another thought process appeared. Do I want to go back home? The idea of escaping the village that reviled him has plagued his mind. A lingering hope that just maybe he could find people out in the world that would love him. People who would appreciate him. However, he could never bring up the courage to run away. He didn't have the necessary survival skills. When he had been forcibly removed from the orphanage, he rightfully panicked. While the orphanage barely fed him, he still got something to snack on. Luckily for him, people are wasteful. Trash cans are on every corner, and always packed with old food. He could survive on that, but now, he didn't have that option. The young golden-haired boy jumped to his feet, but the sudden movement left him lightheaded. He promptly fell backward against a tree. He reached back up to his head and prodded the wound. He winced in pain. It felt like a tiny gash, which luckily for him has already begun healing up. His meddling fingers have only agitated it, causing it to bleed. Sadly, the boy did not know this information and continued to panic senselessly. After all, some people roughed him out and dragged him to the middle of nowhere. He has every right to freaking out. The sound of bushes rustling around him caused the whiskered boy to freeze in place. He isn't stupid and realized the situation he found himself in. Here he is, a 4-year-old boy, bleeding and wounded, in the middle of the woods. You could very well put a sign on him that reads, "Free meal." He shivered as he felt multiple sets of eyes watching him. Foxes started slowly approaching out of the bushes and shadows around him, circling him, while keeping a slight distance from him. Each fox varies in size, the largest standing proudly in front of him. It's around the size of a large horse, with fur that is a dark shade of black with pearl-colored stripes throughout it. Electric blue slitted eyes peered at him with interest, but the most noticeable feature is the 8 large tails swishing back and forth. Glancing around, he noted that all the foxes have varying colors and tail numbers. Some have the average amount, 1 tail, while the others have 2 to 7. The boy went through a mixture of emotions ranging from pure excitement to unadulterated fear. Being a prime piece of meat did not leave his mind, however, being surrounded by his favorite animal blossomed happiness. For the longest time, he has always adored foxes. He felt at peace with them. He remembered when he informed the matron of the orphanage, he had received a terrible beating. He had been locked away in his small room for days without contact. Flashback. The small boy looked over at the matron and all the gathering children surrounding her. She adorned a smile that he is never privileged to see directed at himself. Children rushed past him, and he stopped a fellow orphan with a slight tug on the shoulder. "What's going on?" he asked curiously. "Don't know, but I heard something about presents." The kid responded excitedly, taking off to join the rest of the pack. "Okay, everyone, I got a special surprise for you. We just received a generous donation filled with stuffed animals," the old matron said kindly to the sitting children in front of her. She smiled brightly at each of them, but of course, it dimmed when she noticed it mixed in with the crowd. She chose to humor the thing for now. "All right, quiet down," she chastised, but amusement rang out. "So, what's your favorite animal?" she asked. "I like birds," a young girl chirped from the front. "I like froggies," a small boy replied from the matron's right. "I like tigers," a tiny pale boy replied with a small smile from the center. This round of answers continued, all the children excited to receive a stuffed animal. Eventually, it reached the small blonde's turn, and he saw the elderly woman's scornful look. It confused him, but he desired a stuffed animal like the rest. "I like foxes," he shouted out excitedly. It happened so quickly, the boy didn't know what happened. He felt as if he got hit by a horse's hoof. His cheek turned a flaming red as it stung fiercely. Tears spilled over his watering eyes, and he saw the utter loathing in the woman's eyes. "What did I do this time?" he thought tearfully, not understanding what he did wrong. Even the other children seemed bewildered with the strange random acts of violence. Each of them knew that he isn't treated like the rest of them, but they didn't think he deserved it. Every single one of them had been ordered to stay away from him because he is an evil child, and very dangerous. They did as told since they didn't know any better. Of course, the demon likes foxes. I should have seen that coming from a mile away, she sneered in disgust. Grabbing the boy by the ear, she dragged him roughly through the halls of the orphanage and tossed him into his room. "You're grounded, and you will not leave this room until I let you out," she growled, slamming the door to let the boy cry alone. 5 agonizingly long days passed before the matron opened the door to see if he is alive or not. Much to the old woman's annoyance, she spotted the brat on his bed, back pressed up against the wall. He is curled into himself with his knees pressed tightly against his chest, rocking silently. She didn't say a word and left with the door open. Sapphire blue eyes gazed upward at the open door. The boy slowly uncurled from his ball and stood shakily before making his way out. He is excruciatingly hungry and dying of thirst. Sadly, this situation happened enough that the boy started to get used to it. Flashback end. After that day, he kept his love for foxes a secret to avoid his caretaker's wrath. He learned shortly after that outburst that foxes are seen as a taboo after the Kyuubi attacked. He discovered that the Yondaime Hokage had sacrificed his life to save the village and banished the demon. The large black fox crept closer to the whiskered boy, snapping him from his thoughts. He sat frozen in place. There isn't anything he could do about them. He didn't have the strength to fight against one fox of this size, let alone a small army of them. The fox's face brushed up against his skin, its hot breath batting at him before it suddenly backed away and faced the others. It appears that you were right. He smells oddly similar to Kurama-sama, the black fox suddenly stated. When he had been told that this kid smelt like their leader, his father, he scoffed. The only way a child could smell like his father would be if he came into contact with him. That is impossible. They had sadly lost touch with their leader almost 100 years ago. However, his curiosity had already piqued, and he needed to reassure himself. As soon as he smelt the kit, he froze. The kit smelt like Kurama-sama, but how? Unless, the boy's eyes widened comically. Not only is he surrounded by foxes, but he is surrounded by talking foxes who haven't eaten him yet. It appeared his bad luck is turning around. Though, something caught his attention. Who did they say I smelled like? Kurama? He wondered. Told you, Ota-san, a smaller fox with 2 red tails replied cheekily. When she had spotted the boy being dumped by those 2 men, her inquisitive nature took hold. However, when the boy's scent reached her, her emerald eyes widened. He smells like Gigi, she thought, now needing to get a closer look. When the 2 big men left, she leaped onto the boy's stomach. In her opinion, he is adorable with his cute whiskers and pretty hair. She decided to alert her Tusan right away. Who is this Kurama guy, and how can you talk? I didn't know foxes could do that, the golden-haired boy suddenly asked, causing him to become the center of attention once more. He shifted nervously with all of their eyes on him. The multitude of questions running rampant in his head cried out for answers. He figured, who better to get answers out of than a majestic talking fox? Kurama-sama is our leader and my Ota-sama. He vanished years ago and been recently told he had been slain by the hands of you humans, the black fox answered sharply. The reason we can talk is because of Kurama-sama, he stated vaguely. The wounded boy continued to rest his back against the tree, processing the newly given information. Something didn't make sense to him, though. Why do I smell like him, then? He asked curiously. I have a theory, but I do not wish to talk carelessly out in the open. Follow me, and we will discuss this further, the large fox stated, shifting his head to his right and started walking away. The boy got up cautiously, still slightly dizzy from earlier, and started following the foxes. He desperately wanted to ask more questions but decided to remain silent. For a small child, it is quite the feat he would get his chance to get answers when he arrived at wherever they were going. It's not every day a group of talking foxes asked you to follow them. After all, the forest around them remained relatively silent other than the sound of walking through the brush. The tree reminded him of home, large and imposing. Very little sunlight managed to get through the canopy of leaves. The rays of light that did gave the forest a magical feeling. The group stopped in front of 2 strange trees that reached up high and danced around one another. It created an arch, lined with flowing green vines. It reminded the boy of an entrance, but all he could see beyond is the same thick woods. He glanced around in confusion. Is this their home? He thought curiously. This is the entrance to our home, our sanctuary, the black fox stated, startling the boy. If you don't have our blood coursing through you, you will not be able to get in, he commented, staring down at the boy. This would either answer multiple questions or create many more. However, if the boy isn't able to enter, he would end the kid's life to protect his home. I don't think I have that, though I'm human, the boy said quietly, whispering out the last part. He was turned away by his own and left to die. Now, his favorite animal would turn him away as well. Perhaps not. There is only one way to find out, the 8-tailed fox said kindly. He did not know the boy's story, but he could see the fear of rejection in his innocent eyes. He nudged the boy forward supportively. The boy stumbled forward before looking around nervously. All the eyes of the foxes watching his every moment. He took a deep breath and looked toward the entrance to the sanctuary. He took a careful step, then another, and soon he stood right in front of the arch. He turned slightly toward the large black fox who nodded. With one more step forward, he vanished completely. His entire presence disappeared without a trace. Well, would you look at that? The boy has our blood running through his veins after all, a dark gray fox commented, walking over to the black fox. He is slightly smaller than his companion, and has seen tails whipping around in interest. His calculating silver-slitted eyes staring at the portal to their home. The black fox looked ahead. Indeed, he does. Kitsun's sanctuary. The moment the whiskered boy stepped through the gateway, he felt a tug on his entire body. Some force beyond his comprehension reached over, grabbed, and dragged him away. It happened in an instant, but the feeling was unreal. He couldn't think of any words in his limited vocabulary to describe it other than being pulled or maybe pushed. When his sapphire eyes opened, he almost gasped in delight. The area he appeared in is beautiful, much prettier than his home village. He stood in the middle of a large lush green grass circle with white blooming flowers scattered around. In the center, behind him, stood the same tree arch he entered from. Lining the ring is a circular cobblestone path that branched off into multiple roads. Tall buildings intermixed with nature line the edge of the cobblestone ring that resembles shrine buildings. The walls are crisp white with a deep red lining the sides. Greenery seemed to be at home everywhere, giving the place a calming sense of serenity. The area felt peaceful and calming to the mind. Safety, a sweet, feminine voice whispered with the wind around the boy. However, the thing that caught the boy's interest quickly is the sheer lack of fluffy foxes. Instead, humans are walking around, minding their own business. Though perhaps humans may be stretching it slightly. These beings have extra parts connected to them. The humans have ox ears rested atop their heads, and tails of various numbers and colors swishing behind them. What are they? He wondered, tilting his head to the side. It's beautiful, isn't it? A hand grabbed a hold of the boy's shoulder, causing him to jump. He turned around and caught sight of a large, tall man. He looked up and found familiar electric blue slitted eyes gazing back into his own. His shaggy black hair with pearl-colored highlights gave his muscular build a sort of elegance. He is wearing an elegant dark gray kimono that is layered with squares of black. A blood-red sash tied around his waist only allowed you to see a simple white shirt underneath. White sandals adorned his feet, completing the entire uniform. Though, the 8 tails hovering behind the man caught his eye the most. Why yeah, are you the fox from earlier? The boy asked, though he felt quite confident that the answer is yes. The man's lips twitched upward. You would be correct in assuming that. Outside this sanctuary, we take on our natural forms to blend in with our environment. While in this world, we take on a more human form, the man said, looking over at all his people walking about. He turned his eyes back toward the boy. You may call me Kenichi Masumi, he said, introducing himself. Oh, nice to meet you, I'm Naruto. The blonde chirped warmly, feeling peaceful and relaxed. He couldn't explain it, but he felt safe. In Konoha, he felt like he needed to always look over his shoulder. Without that, he felt tension melting away. Maelstrom, a strong name, Kenichi stated, smiling lightly at the boy's relaxed state. Naruto tilted his head to the side. He never knew what his name meant, but he felt proud of having an impressive-sounding name. Although, he didn't really know what a maelstrom is either. What's a maelstrom? He blurted out as the question entered his young mind. A maelstrom is a powerful current of water swirling around itself. You can find maelstrom in the oceans and rivers occasionally. Another name would be a whirlpool, he informed, before giving Naruto's shoulder a squeeze. With his hand secured, they both vanished from their spot in a swirl of autumn leaves. Whoa, was all Naruto could say at the sudden change of scenery. As Kenichi left his side, he took in his surroundings. He stood in a large room that's just long enough to not be a square. The walls are an eggshell white lined with a crimson-colored wood. The center of the room went down a single step. A beautifully crafted wooden table rested on a warm mahogany flooring. 4 ruby-red pillows rested on the ground for seating. Please take a seat, Kenichi said, gesturing toward one of the pillows as he sat down on the other side. He watched the child sit down opposite of him. As promised, I'll answer your questions, but afterward I expect you to answer mine. Do we have an understanding? He stated, giving the boy a meaningful look. That's fine, I guess, Naruto replied slowly while scratching the back of his head. It seemed like a fair trade to him. Hey, you scratch my back, and I'll scratch yours type of situation. He looked down at the table while he thought about the questions he wanted to be answered. What is this place? He asked, deciding to start simple. The large man smiled warmly. This place is called Kitsun Sanctuary. It's a haven for our kind, our home away from the dangers that lurk on the other side. Kurama-sama himself created this place for us, though he never revealed how he did it. I'm of the personal opinion that he did not create it, but instead linked one time to another, he answered. Oh, okay. What was that strange pulling feeling I felt when I entered the door? Naruto asked, unsure of how to phrase his question. Do you mean when you walked through the tree arch? Kenichi asked with a raised eyebrow and got a nod in return. That's a bit complicated. What you felt is your body being transported to another dimension. You'll find that you are no longer on the elemental nations. This dimension is rather unique. Time doesn't function the same on this side as it does on the other. It's rather complicated for someone so young to understand. I hope my answer satisfies you, he answered slowly and carefully. He could tell the boy didn't really understand, but he expected that. Naruto felt as confused as he looked with the new bundle of information. He didn't really get it, nor did he understand how time could work differently. However, one thing he did understand is the name of the sanctuary he found himself in. Kitsun Sanctuary, a haven filled to the brim with his favorite animals in human form. This is the greatest thing to ever happen to me. He mentally cheered but noticed the pointed look the big man is giving him. I remember you saying I needed your blood to get inside. Does that mean I'm a fox too? He asked, tilting his head slightly. Kenichi hummed lightly to himself while rubbing his chin. I have a few theories. The first theory is that one of Kurama-sama's children is your ancestor. Even diluted with human blood, you would still have our blood in your veins. The second theory is Kurama-sama blessed you and gave you a human form when you were newly born. It could explain the scent in your allowance in the sanctuary, he said, laying out a few theories. Naruto's eyes widened as he listened, and it somewhat made sense. Everyone in Konoha has always hated him and called him a demon. If he is a fox, it would explain a lot of his problems. My third theory, and the one that I think is most likely correct, is you somehow have Kurama-sama sealed within you, he stated bluntly. Naruto stared olishly at the man. Wait, you think your Tusan is inside me? He questioned skeptically. He raised an eyebrow. I think I'd know if I have a big fox inside of me. I mean, where would you even fit him? He said, poking his own belly in a childish way of proving how small he is. Kenichi let out a chuckle at the innocent question. Yes, I do believe that to be the case, but it's a complicated situation. You see, beings like Kurama-sama are sought after due to their abilities of mass destruction. The humans would know Kurama-sama as the Kyuubi no Yoko, he said, which got a flash of recognition from the young boy. Wait, the Kyuubi is inside me? He squeaked, having heard monstrous tales of that demon. It's a possibility, and we divine the truth right now. Come over here, Kenichi said, gesturing the boy forward. As the boy got up and moved closer to the man, he raised his shirt, exposing the boy's stomach. His finger lit up with chakra and probed until a complex seal appeared. It appears my theory is correct. You are what is known as a Jinchuriki, he stated, gesturing for the boy to take a seat once more. What's a Jinchuriki? He asked quietly, stumbling over the unknown word. The older man let out a tired sigh. A Jinchuriki is literally known as a human sacrifice. They're created to be living weapons for their village, to be used in times of war, but sadly the sacrifices are often treated poorly. For a while, we assumed Kurama-sama managed to escape that fate, and it held true when we heard of his appearance. We did not take kindly to the rumors of his death at the hand of your village. It appears Kurama-sama could not escape that fate of all Biju, Kenichi said lowly, before letting out another sigh at the boy's frightened expression. For Naruto, it suddenly felt like he found that one missing piece of the puzzle. The reason he could never find it is because the part is hidden inside of him. So that's why everyone hates me, he thought sadly before looking up at the suddenly tired-looking man. Is there a way to get your Tusan out of me? He asked softly. There are a few ways of removing Kurama-sama, but most of them would result in your untimely demise, he replied and saw Naruto suddenly start paling considerably. He thought over his previous comment before coming to a realization. There is a non-fatal way, but we will discuss those options later, alright? He said, reassuring the boy that he didn't have plans of killing him. Naruto nodded, suddenly relieved by that reassurance. He chewed on his lower lip and thought for a moment before looking into the electric blue eyes with a hopeful look. Can I stay? He asked quietly, though it came out as more of a whisper. Still, to the sensitive ears of a kitsune, it's loud enough. To Naruto, this place felt safe and more of a home than Konoha ever felt. Kenichi smiled warmly. You have the blood of a fox coursing through you. This world is your home as much as it is ours, he replied, seeing the multitude of emotions swirling in those young sapphire blue eyes. A crooked smile washed over the boy's face, and tears cascaded down his whiskered cheeks. Thank you, Naruto choked out in between sobs. A red rice paper sliding door on the side suddenly shot open, and a young girl that looked slightly older than himself walked in. She has beautiful scarlet red hair that reached down to her back. However, in Naruto's opinion, her emerald eyes are her prettiest characteristics. She wore a jet-black kimono with a loose gray sash tied around her waist. Her two fluffy tails swished behind her in agitation. Tusan! I can't believe you just left me there. She huffed angrily, crossing her arms across her chest. Akane-chan, glad you could join us, Kenichi chuckled nervously. There's no need to get angry over something as trivial as that, he commented, putting his hands up placatingly. The man knew full well the excessive fury that ran through her blood. How someone so tiny could pack so much strength, he has yet to find out. It's a 20-minute hike to get home. Do you know how many stairs I just had to climb? Akane growled. He gave her a deadpan stare. Yes. Naruto wiped the tears away as he stared at the scene unfolding in front of him. An out-of-place breeze soared through the room as the father and daughter stared at one another. He could have sworn he saw a tiny spark of lightning between them. Eventually, the young redhead looked away in a huff and stared at the blonde instead. Well, hello there, I'm Akane Masumi, and you are? Akane asked with a bright smile. Naruto smiled in amusement at the girl's sudden shift in emotion. She seemed a bit strange, but he liked her. He wanted to be this girl's friend, and nothing would stand in his way. It helped that she is a fox. You can't get much better than that, in his opinion. Hello, I'm Naruto. He chirped excitedly. Do you have a family or clan name? Akane asked curiously, sitting down beside the boy. This question also piqued Kenichi's interest. It was one he planned on asking himself. Although, the sudden sadness that swelled in the boy's eyes almost made them wish they hadn't asked. Naruto frowned. I'm an orphan, never knew my parents, he answered with a sullen shrug. The idea of having a family and being loved is every orphan's dream. Sadly, Naruto is disliked by everyone in the village. He knew his chance of finding a home was very slim, almost non-existent. Akane soothingly rubbed the boy's back, trying to comfort him. Sorry for asking, she said softly. She didn't think anyone liked being reminded of what they didn't have. It's okay, Naruto responded with a small smile. How old are you, Naruto? Kenichi asked suddenly. Oh, I'm 4. I'll be 5 on October 10th, Naruto answered. Would you mind telling me of your life in your previous village? I'd like to get to know you better, Kenichi asked with a fatherly smile. Naruto stiffened slightly and looked torn on the question. He didn't like talking about the past. He preferred looking toward the future and trying to remain positive. However, he promised to answer any question that the older man asked if he responded to his own. Well, I guess I've always been at the orphanage. The kids like to pick on me or avoid me, and the mother matron really didn't want me there. So, for the most part, I just sat around quietly, Naruto responded, scratching the back of his head while trying to explain. Did the matron take care of you, at least? The man asked. I mean, I guess? Naruto answered unsurely. I got fed 1 meal a day, which wasn't really fair since the other kids got at least 3, he huffed. I never got any warm water for my weekly shower, except for that one time, but I got in trouble for that, he pondered, not noticing the darkening in the man's eyes. Oh, there was a magical dog man that would visit me at night. He always appeared when I was sleeping, but he would give me fresh clothes, he commented offhandedly. Kenichi didn't know who this dog man is, but he appreciated the small sentiment. Fresh clothes made a difference in comfort. How did you end up out in the forest? He asked, knocking the boy out of his thoughts. Oh, well, I was on my way to my tree for the night after looking for food when 2 guys jumped me, Naruto started, but a hand raised to stop him. What do you mean tree? Kenichi asked. Well, after my birthday, the matron said I couldn't stay anymore. So I had to find a place to sleep, and I always loved this one tree in the park. It has this one large branch that you could sleep on, he answered truthfully, happy about his tree. Anyways, the 2 guys jumped me and hit me. Next thing I know, I'm in the forest, and you guys were there, he said, finishing up his short tale. Akane couldn't believe that humans could mistreat someone so badly. She has always had a loving family and home with food on the table. She couldn't imagine not having that stuff. Kenichi, on the other hand, is less shocked than his daughter. He expected a troubled past from the boy. The boy's story kicked at his fatherly instincts. I'm sorry for bringing up such painful memories. I hope you can forgive me, the black-haired man said with a small frown. Naruto waved his hands erratically. No, it's okay. I promise to answer any of your questions. It's no problem, he quickly replied, not wanting his new friends to feel guilty. Kenichi nodded. Akane-chan, could you please show Naruto around the compound? I need to speak with the council to inform them of this recent development, he asked Akane, who nodded in acceptance. His daughter looked almost attached to the boy after his troubling story. He stood up and gave Naruto a once-over. If you'd like, you're more than welcome to stay with us, he offered. Naruto's eyes twinkled with shock and joy. He just offered me a place to stay, he thought joyfully. He fought down the urge to run and hug the man. Thanks, I'd love to stay with you and Akane-chan, he replied excitedly, giving one of his brightest smiles. The man smiled warmly in return. That's good to hear, he commented with a soft chuckle. Alright then, you two stay safe, he said, turning and walking out of the room. So, Naruto-kun, follow me. You'll love this place, she said with mirth, emphasizing the kun suffix. She noted that the boy's smile grew wider at that with a soft blush. She stood up and stretched, which Naruto quickly copied. They both walked out the door she entered to explore the grounds. Kitsun Sanctuary, Council Chambers. Kenichi opened the council chamber doors and strode inside. The rectangular room is large and grandiose with smooth, cold stone walls. Opposite the entrance is 2 massive vertical glass windows that let in a healthy amount of light. In between the windows is a large red silk banner with a black anvil and sword embroidered into the fabric. 8 other similar banners hung from the walls, 4 on each side that depicted each clan. A beautifully crafted walnut-colored wooden circular table rested on top of the luxurious mahogany floor. The table is engraved with the visage of the Kyubi, his 9 tails each pointing to a throne-type chair, which evenly lined the table. Kenichi took his place in the center, in front of his banner. The Masumi clan are known for being a jack of all trades. While they are not considered masters in any area the other 8 families specialized in, they did master the art of Kenjutsu. They have a swordsman honor, and will usually not turn down a duel. It would go against their reputation. Some members of this clan are known to specialize in weapon forging. The male members are relatively laid back, only getting serious when the situation demands it. However, the female members have a natural-born fury that terrified everyone. One must never under any circumstance underestimate a female from the Masumi clan. A fate worse than death awaits any who dares. After a short wait, the door opened once more, and a tall, tan man stepped inside. Masao Takeshi, the fourth born of Kurama's gift. He stood at the height of 6 feet 1 inch, his posture refined. He has long dark gray hair that went flat against his back, giving him more of a royalty appearance. His piercing silver-slitted eyes are as mesmerizing as they are cold and calculating. He wore a beautiful light gray kimono, with a deep purple sash tightly wrapped around his waist. 8 magnificent dark gray tails followed him closely, hovering just off the ground. The Takeshi clan are known for their intelligence and logical outlook. They enjoy reading and collecting knowledge to store in the central library. They often send their clan members out into the world to seek rare and valuable books, artifacts, scrolls, and other miscellaneous objects. From a young age, they are taught to not let emotions cloud their judgment, always trying to seek out the best solutions. They enjoy the company of the Nao, Fumiko, and Mana clans. The man approached the seat, 2 down on the right from Kenichi, and sat down quietly. A few minutes later, 2 more Kitsun walked into the chamber alongside one another. One gracefully and the other without a care in the world. Takara Yuzuki, the 7th born of Kurama's gift. She stood at the height of 5 feet 8 inches. She has beautiful snow-white hair that covered the left side of her face and reached her. Her ruby-red slitted eyes have a slight haunting glow. She wore a white kimono that hugged her hourglass figure with a silver sash tied around her stomach. 8 snow-white tails are pressed gently against her back. The Yuzuki clan are known for their kind and loving nature. They enjoy watching over and taking care of young children. The members of the Yuzuki clan are natural-born parents, and raised off their children to be as pure-hearted as themselves. Their love for a peaceful atmosphere leads most to never leaving the safety of the sanctuary. Natsumi Miwa, the 2nd born of Kurama's gift. She stood at the height of 5 feet 10 inches. She has light auburn hair done up in a ponytail with her bangs framing her face. Her ocean blue slitted eyes danced with amusement. She wore a short-sleeved burnt orange shirt with black trimming that clung tightly to her, showing some cleavage. She also wore an open loose red jacket and charcoal black pants that hugged her hips. Her 8 auburn tails danced around in the air behind her. The Miwa clan are known for their boundless energy. Most considered them to be bottomless wells of stamina. They always looked for an opportunity to have some fun or pull a prank on unexpected victims. The clan members mostly specialize in physical training, preparing the young kids for the world outside the haven. The Miwa and Takeo clan are known for their rivalry, as well as their long-time friendship. 3 more strode inside soon after. Eiji Takeo, the 8th born of Kurama's gift. He stood at the impressive height of 6 feet 5 inches. He has dark orange hair that is spiked erratically with his bangs growing out. His deep purple slitted eyes glowed eagerly. He wore a large white jacket that reached toward the floor, while also exposing his well-toned and muscular chest. White bandages are wrapped in an angular fashion around his torso. He also wore loose dark gray pants. His 8 orange tails swished back and forth behind him. The Takeo clan are known for training their bodies to the extreme. They enjoy exercise and fighting hand-to-hand. All clansmen and women, including the children, are a rowdy bunch. However, in a real fight, they are known to give in to their bloodlust. The Takeo and Miwa clan are known for their rivalry, as well as their long-time friendship. You can often find them playing, sparring, and exercising with each other for hours on end. Akio Hiro, the 5th born of Kurama's gift. He stood at the height of 5 feet 10 inches. He has short wavy light brown hair that resembled dry soil. His golden slitted eyes are half closed with a serene smile adorned on his face. He wore a forest green kimono with a simple black sash tied around his waist. His clothing is covered small patches of dirt, and if one looked at his nails, you would find loose soil. Behind him, his 8 light brown tails dragged. The Hiro clan are known for their love of nature. They make sure to keep the sanctuary clean and the forests healthy. They also take care of multiple greenhouses and produce much of the food the citizens eat. The members are calm and caring, as well as intelligent. It is not unusual to find members of the Hiro clan sleeping in the forest under the stars. Their family is also the most well-tuned with natural energy, and it heavily influences them. Ami Fumiko, the 6th born of Kurama's gift. She stood at the height of 5 feet 9 inches. She has beautiful silky black hair that drapes down her back and splits at her shoulders. Her crystal green slitted eyes radiated warmth and kindness. She wore a soft cream-colored kimono that hugged her tightly. She has 3 blood-red sashes tied around her, one around her waist, stomach, and below her S. Her 8 fluffy black tails wrap protectively around her like a warm blanket. The Fumiko clan are known for their healing prowess. Working together with the Hiro clan, they grow many medicinal herbs and create antidotes, remedies, and medicines. Though they don't advertise it, they are also known to dabble in the art of poison crafting. While it's not their primary focus, they can create some extraordinarily toxic poisons. A game the members enjoy playing is creating a unique poison and having others find a remedy. While most members are kind, others do come off rather cold and calculating. These members work well alongside the Takeshi clan. Finally, the last 2 Kitsun join the chamber, whispering amongst each other, and the doors close behind them. Ken now, the 3rd born of Kurama's gift. He stood at the height of an even 6 foot. He has short, light gray hair that just covered his left eye. His warm brown slitted eyes drooped but shined with intelligence. He wore a simple black kimono shirt that is slightly wrinkled. He also wore baggy but comfortable green pants that could probably pass for pajamas. His 8 gray tails dragged lazily on the ground behind him. The Nao clan are known for their strategical and brilliant minds. Most clan members are born with photographic memories, and with their intelligence, it often led to them seeing the world as dull. This, in turn, led them to just lazing around, though they are always looking forward to seeing something new and exciting. While their clan is mostly filled with loners, they occasionally spend time with the Takeshi, Fumiko, and Mana clans. Keiko Mana, the 9th born of Kurama's gift. She stood at the height of 5 feet 6 inches. She has straight, beautiful red hair with orange streaks running throughout it that rested gently down her back. Her cold, dark violet slitted eyes are slightly covered by her bangs. She wore a tight scarlet kimono shirt that hugged her small figure and skin-tight dark gray pants. Her 8 red smooth tails are pressed against her back, their tips peeking over her shoulders. The Mana clan are known for their quiet and stealthy nature. The day their children are born into the world, they do not cry. Their instincts scream for them to remain silent and calm. This naturally leads them to rarely speaking unless spoken to first. Though when they wish to socialize, they choose to spend their time around the Nao clan because they rarely move, or talk for that matter. Their members are also considered to be exceptionally beautiful. Everyone was sat down, quietly talking to themselves. Each member subtly glanced over to Kenichi before resuming their conversations. They all knew it is rare for a meeting to be called so randomly. Kenichi coughed expectantly and hushed his fellow members. Kurama-sama has been found and safely returned to the sanctuary, Kenichi stated bluntly, deciding to drop the ball first. Their face expressed shock and excitement. He related, knowing his own feelings on the matter. Explain, Masao said in a loud, clear voice over the excited mutterings of his peers. My daughter, Akane, left to explore the forests outside of the sanctuary. From her words, she stumbled upon an unconscious blonde-haired boy being left for dead. According to her, one of them wanted to murder the child but was thankfully talked out of it by the other. When they left, she examined the boy out of curiosity and discovered something imperative, Kenichi stated, pausing to let his information settle in. She informed me that this boy smelt of Kurama-sama. Of course, I didn't believe her, but I felt I should still investigate. I arrived amongst the scene of a panicking child who froze as I approached. Imagine my surprise when the boy smelled just like our missing father. The surprises did not end there, however. No, the boy has our blood coursing through his veins and entered into our haven, he said, perhaps a bit dramatically. Where is the kid currently? Takara asked, already worried about the child. Currently, he is residing within my compound being escorted by my daughter, Kenichi answered. Kurama-sama is sealed within the boy, is he not? Ken drawled out. His mind already worked out how this child could smell like their missing father. Though, his interest in how the boy has their blood in his veins poked at his curious mind. That is correct, Kenichi acknowledged, not surprised that Ken managed to piece it together quickly. If Kurama-sama is sealed inside the child, we should unseal him immediately. Masao voiced his opinion loudly. While I would like to have Kurama-sama unsealed, doing so would kill the bot, Kenichi retorted. Is the boy a fox or a human? Ami questioned suddenly. Kenichi rubbed his chin thoughtfully. I am unsure. His body is that of a human, but with the blood of a fox. However, it appears that our blood in Kurama-sama's presence has always affected his body. His pupils are slit ever slightly, and his canines longer than a human, he replied. Hiro hummed. With the boy staying within the sanctuary, the natural energy will affect him. She will more than likely start to remold him in our image as she does with all new bloods, he informed. With the boy being protected by the natural energies and having our properties, the unsealing won't kill him, Ken said lazily. So, what does he look like? What's the boy's story? Natsumi asked, slightly eager to learn more about this strange new kid. His name is Naruto, and he is 4 years old. He has spiky golden blonde hair and bright sapphire blue eyes. He has these unique whisker-like birthmarks on his cheeks, he said, ignoring the comment about fish cake. He suddenly sighed sadly, a depressing aura around him that the others did not miss. He is an orphan, and his life has not been an easy one, Kenichi said, sighing once more. He then proceeded to tell the council what Naruto had told him earlier. Looks of anger, disgust, and pity filled the room. Most of them couldn't understand how you could treat an innocent child like that, but Masao did. He studied the outside world enough to understand human nature. They are cruel, filled with greed, hatred, and lust for power. He felt a pang of guilt for calling for the kid's death without all the facts. However, the news of his father being imprisoned within the child angered him. Maybe I should go and teach this village a lesson they won't ever forget. Eiji growled angrily before pausing in thought. The other stared at him with a raised eyebrow. What village is he from? He asked, scratching his cheek. He did not say, but it's not difficult to discover. Kurama-sama went missed and was said to have died in Konoha. The village in question is more than likely Konoha, Kenichi informed. It wouldn't be difficult to get into their village, Keiko droned out. Searching the village for files on the kid isn't a bad idea. There should be a paper trail for their living weapon, after all, Masao said, turning toward Keiko. Would the Mana clan be willing? He asked. I can have it done, Keiko answered quietly. This is acceptable. This also allows us to copy some valuable scrolls and store them here, Kenichi mused. I like the sound of that, Masao agreed, almost salivating at the thought of acquiring more knowledge. The poor kid probably needs a mother figure. If you want, I'll take him in and shower him with affection, Takara said, almost crying at the boy's sad tale. Naruto has already agreed to stay with my clan. However, I know he would appreciate some affection and tutelage, Kenichi said with a small smile. He about laughed when he saw her glare at him for already whisking the boy away. Ah, mother's love, he mused. Fine, Takara grumbled. Perhaps we should all take an effort in teaching him. It's been a long time since we acquired new blood, Masao commented thoughtfully. That's a great idea. I'll teach the kid to fight like a champ. Eiji bellowed with an excited grin. No, you won't. I'll teach him. Natsumi retorted with vigor. You can't even handle a fight with me, what could you do? Eiji laughed tauntingly. Last time I checked, I won our last fight. Natsumi commented smugly. You cheated. Eiji accused. Did not. Did too. Did not. Did too. The two of them argued back and forth like children, much to the amusement to most of the council. One, however, did not enjoy the loud noise. Enough! Keiko shouted, silencing the entire room. Each member looked at her warily. Did she just yell? Ami asked, almost not able to believe what her ears just heard. A round of surprised nods spoke volumes, causing a very stoic Keiko to blush in embarrassment. She knew she made a mistake as soon as she opened her mouth and began coming up with a valid excuse. It was the wind, Keiko said in a quiet, dignified tone. Nailed it, she thought victoriously. In any case, we'll leave it up to boy if he wishes to be trained. I believe he is overwhelmed at the moment with everything happening so quickly, Kenichi commented after the few awkward moments of silence. For now, we'll allow him to adjust and learn more about the sanctuary, he stated, and with no objections he moved on. Masumi clan compound. Akane slid open another door leading to the outside and walked out. Naruto followed closely behind her and held a face of awe. In front of him is a large open green field full of flowers with trees plopped down here and there. A stone path intermixed with moss and grass led to a drop-off. From Akane's previous conversation on their way out here, it more than likely is a staircase. However, what caught the blonde's attention are the countless other children playing in the flowered field. Some are playing tag, a game he often saw other children play in Konoha. Sadly, he was never allowed to join them. If he attempted, the kids would call him mean names, or the parents would pull them away. Some would even throw a few small stones until he left. This is the front of our compound, Akane said, arms waving in the direction of the open field. Every clan home has large fields like this, but I think ours is the prettiest. What do you think? She asked with a grin. It's amazing, Naruto said with awe. I knew you'd like it. Just wait until you see our dojo and training fields. Akane exclaimed, grabbing a hold of her new friend and dragging him forward. Naruto allowed himself to be dragged along the wooden walkway as he admired the place. He felt at peace, walking through their garden. The chestnut wooden pathway has a small scarlet-tinged fence with large beams holding up a roof. Vines coiled themselves around the pillars and wall, seemingly blending in with nature. They started approaching a rather sizable domed building that followed the same theme as the rest of the compound. So much red, Naruto thought. The outside of the building is around the size of a small mansion and could probably hold a large number of people. The same greenery covered the building as if trying to reclaim its land. You could tell that the caretakers allowed nature to keep a firm hold on its territory, but the building still looked taken well care of. The blonde walked into the building with his red-haired companion. Once more, Naruto's face lit up in awe. Never before has he ever seen a dojo as unique as this. Though that might be because he has never actually seen a dojo before, he didn't care for minor details like that. The sides of the building are lined with wooden benches to watch the sparring or other activities. The middle of the room is sunken in, so the viewers could have a bird's-eye view. The area that is sunken in is more of an arena with its own contained ecosystem. A small river cut the grassy field diagonally. Large mossy stone spikes stuck out for participants to take shelter with. Trees of varying sizes are scattered around, some broken, laying across the river, creating a natural bridge. Small rays of light shine through the multiple skylights placed randomly around the roof to give a tree canopy vibe. Overall, Naruto found the sight incredible. This is where we usually do large-scale spars. They can be really intense, and a bit destructive, Akane commented. Wow, Naruto said, his eyes twinkling with excitement. Imagine the game of hide-and-seek you could play in there, the boy said wistfully. I guess you could probably play a good game of hide-and-seek, Akane retorted wryly. Naruto nodded his head before looking over at his new friend and asked, so where to now? Well, I've already shown you most of the compound, Akane started to say, but got cut off as she got tackled to the ground. Akane-chan. I've been looking all over for you. The tackler shouted excitedly. The tackler looked like Akane, but her hair is a darker shade of red. Her hair went down to her shoulders and has a long ponytail with a golden bell holding it in place. It helped shape her small round face and dark forest green eyes. Though Naruto only saw her face for a few seconds before it got buried in Akane's neck. She wore a light red sleeveless shirt with a small black shirt. Akane attempted to pry the girl off of her but failed miserably. She shook her head in exasperation. Aki, what do you need? She sighed. The girl, now known as Aki, raised her head and grinned at her captive. I was hoping you would help me with my Kenjutsu, she chirped before turning her gaze toward Naruto. Who's the blondie? She asked inquisitively. First, can you let me up? Akane asked, and after a few moments, Aki complied and helped her up. Thank you, she said, dusting down her backside. Sorry Aki, I can't help you right now, I'm sort of showing said blondie around right now, Akane finally answered. Naruto's eyes twitched. I have a name, you know, he stated hotly. A few seconds of silence passed. Okay well, what's your name, blondie? Aki asked cheekily. Naruto. Fish cake, you're named after a ramen topping? Aki questioned with an amused smile. What's a fish cake? Naruto asked in confusion, tilting his head to the side. It's a cute little swirl food made of fish, Aki responded. My name is not cute, and I was told it means maelstrom. Naruto declared. Whatever you say, blondie fish cake, she retorted with a teasing grin. Naruto collapsed to his knees dramatically and started pouting. He mumbled stuff about not being named after a ramen topping and how it's a powerful name. It didn't matter that he didn't know what ramen is. Akane and Aki just looked at him with mirth. Anyways, I guess I'll just go spar with Dano-kun. Later, Akane-chan. She chirped, running out of the dojo to bother some other poor soul. Akane glanced from her retreating friend to her newer blonde one. You okay? She asked warily. It means maelstrom, it's powerful. Not cute, Naruto grumbled. I'm sure it is, Naruto-kun, really powerful, she said soothingly. His misty eyes looked up into her emerald ones. You mean it? He asked softly. Of course I do, she cooed. Naruto's entire demeanor changed in a flash, and he was up on his feet like nothing happened. Good, he stated with a nod. So, where to next? He asked his earlier question before they got interrupted. Akane raised her hand to her chin and took up a thoughtful expression. Well, I've already shown you most of the compound. So, I guess we can go wait back at the house for Toussaint to come back, she replied, and Naruto just shrugged and followed her back. Masumi clan compound, nighttime. Akane and Naruto sat in one of the many empty rooms in the compound, talking for a few hours while playing a card game called War. War is a game based solely on luck. No skill is involved, yet somehow, someway, Naruto won every game. This rightfully frustrated Akane, who felt compelled to continue to play to win at least once. She didn't let her frustration show though, they were supposed to be just playing this to pass the time. Do you have any interest in learning Kenjutsu? Akane asked, flipping over a king of spades. Naruto shrugged. I don't know what Kenjutsu is, he responded while flipping over an ace of hearts, stealing her king. Akane held back her growl. What type of luck does he have? She screamed mentally. She let out a frustrated huff. Kenjutsu is the art of using a sword. It's what my clan specializes in. Anyone can swing a hunk of metal around, but someone who really understands and respects that art can be incredible, she explained, her respect for the art showing in her words. She flipped over an ace of clubs and smiled in victory until Naruto flipped over an ace of diamonds. This signaled the start of a war, which they both quickly put down 3 cards face down. The moment of truth, she flipped over a jack of spades. Her eyes twitched violently as Naruto flipped over a king of diamonds. He also just happened to win the last ace in that batch. Okay, that's it. You're cheating somehow, you have to be. Akane cried out, slamming her hands down on the table. I don't know how you're doing it, but no one is this lucky. Her eye twitching, showing her frustration. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the implicated. I don't cheat. You even said it is impossible to cheat in this game, he argued indigently. She opened her mouth to retort, but quickly closed it. A moment of tense silence. Well, I know what I said, but I still don't like it, she mumbled angrily. Naruto felt a bit of sweat on his forehead. Note to self, Akane doesn't like losing, he thought. He scratched the side of his head, while his new friend muttered things he couldn't hear. Do you want to play something else? He asked cautiously. No, maybe later, she replied with a sigh. Sorry for blowing up at you. I'm a bit competitive, she apologized. It's not a problem, Databeo. He chirped, not noticing anything wrong with his sentence. Databeo? She questioned slowly. Did you say something? Naruto asked dismissively, tilting his head to the side. Akane felt generally confused and wanted to question him more, but the door to their room opened before she could. Kenichi walked in and glanced at the two of them. He smiled, glad to see them playing together, and hoped they would be good friends. Akane-chan, Naruto-kun, dinner will be served shortly, he stated. Gotcha Toussaint, how did the meeting go? Akane asked curiously. Naruto also looked interesting in knowing this information. It went as I expected. I'll be discussing it with you both tomorrow, Kenichi replied vaguely. They both nodded their heads in acceptance. Kenichi left the room, leaving the two of them to their own devices once more. Well, I guess we should clean this up and head to the dining room, she said, secretly happy to clean up the game before she lost. They both walked out of their game room and down a long hallway until they arrived in front of a spacious dining room. The place is quite large, with a massive wooden rectangular table. A generously sized feast is laid out on it that made Naruto's mouth water. As he followed Akane to his seating, he took note of all the foods. There is a rotisserie-style chicken dismembered and ready for the taking. Steamed broccoli, white rice, and fresh bread rolls. He couldn't remember the last time he sat at a meal like this. As a matter of fact, he couldn't remember ever actually eating a feast like this before. Naruto sat down beside Akane at an end. His eyes radiated excitement and hunger, his mouth hanging open with a little drool forming at the corners. He failed to notice the others sitting at the table watching him curiously. "Hey, fish cake!" Aki chirped mischievously. That managed to snap Naruto out of his food fantasies. His eyes shot toward the familiar vixen, eyes lit with a passionate fire. "It means maelstrom," he shouted with as much passion as he could muster. It didn't matter that he had only learned that today himself. The blonde boy finally took the time to look around at everyone sitting at the table. It wasn't just Kenichi and Akane, it seemed to be the entire clan. Loads of people varying in ages gathered around the table prepared to eat but are staring wholeheartedly at Naruto. Perhaps it's because of his outburst, or maybe it's the fact that he is a new face. Kenichi coughed into his hand, drawing everyone's attention. "Good evening, everyone. Today we celebrate the return of Kurama-sama with a grand feast," he announced loudly. The members looked excited by the prospect and whispered amongst each other. "We also welcome a new member of the sanctuary, Naruto. Please make him feel welcome," he said, looking over at the new blonde. Naruto twitched nervously in his seat as all the eyes fell on him once more. Guessing that he is supposed to say something, he spoke up. Hello everyone. I'm Naruto. Nice to meet you," he said shyly, twiddling his thumbs. After a few soft murmurs, Kenichi raised his hand into the air, gathering everyone's attention again. "Naruto will be staying with us for the time being, but we can discuss this all later. For now, let's feast and enjoy ourselves," he cheered. Naruto watched everyone grabbing plates filled with food and passing them around while taking what they desired. This is a new experience for Naruto. Even in the orphanage, it's a take what you can get before it's all gone. He snapped out of his musing when he got past a warm basket of rolls from Akane. He snatched 3 bread rolls and placed them on his plate, passing along the rolls to the person opposite him. This procedure continued for the rest of the food, and soon Naruto's plate is filled with delicious food. He continued to watch everyone eating casually and chatting with one another happily. It brought a smile to his face. Is this what a family is like? Naruto puzzled. He glanced over to Akane, who was chatting happily with Aki and another boy he didn't recognize. Finally, his eyes settled back on his own food, and he started eating at a more subdued pace than usual. He didn't want to embarrass himself in front of everyone, but mostly, he wanted to savor an actual meal for once. No more rotten meat, spoiled milk, or moldy bread. The food in question is rather simple, and nothing special to anyone else sitting at the table. To Naruto, it could have been a 5-star meal at a fancy restaurant. Every bite melted in his mouth, savoring the herbs and spices. He felt a tear slowly creep down his face, and a small sob escaped his mouth. The table took notice, but Naruto paid them no mind. For once in his short life, he is happy. Today has been the best day of his entire life. "Are you okay?" Akane whispered, nudging her new friend lightly. Not trusting his voice, he just nodded yes and continued to shake slightly while eating. "Are you sure, fish cake?" Aki asked from the sidelines. Receiving the same response from him, she looked over to the creator of tonight's meal. "Hey Riku! Your meal is apparently so good it brought him to tears." "Good job," she commented, laughing as she got a thumbs up from said man. "My food is always heavenly," Riku said in a matter-of-fact tone. Yeah dear, whatever you say," a woman sitting beside him retorted with a roll of her eyes. The friendly banter continued until the meal finished. Naruto nudged Akane lightly. "Could you show me where my room is?" he said softly. Akane nodded and stood up. "Tusan, Naruto wants to go to his room," she told her father. Kenichi nodded his head before telling her where he would be sleeping. Naruto followed Akane quietly out of the room, walking toward the sleeping quarters. The sliding door to the dining room shut behind them. After a few moments passed, one of the clansmen spoke up. "So, who is the boy?" This question gathered everyone's attention, who all wished to know the same thing. The family is curious about who the boy is, especially after he broke down from just eating. Kenichi simply sighed before he began informing his family what he knew about the child. Masumi clan compound, with Naruto and Akane. Akane and Naruto padded down the darkening halls. When they reached a door, Akane slid it open, revealing a small furnished bedroom. There is a full-size bed that is pushed up against a corner in the room with a nightstand on the side. Akane went over and turned on the lamp that rested on top of it. On the other side of the room are a closet and small dresser. "This is your room for as long as you stay here," Akane said, breaking the silence. "Thank you," Naruto said softly. Akane sat down on the bed. "You want to talk about it?" she asked in a friendly tone while patting the bed beside her. She didn't like this version of Naruto. She preferred him happy and smiling. Naruto's eyes shifted over to Akane before letting out a sigh. "I guess," he mumbled out. He walked over to the bed and sat down beside his new friend. "This whole place feels like one big dream, you know? I'm afraid that I'm going to wake up all alone in the park," Naruto whispered. She listened silently as he tried to explain his feelings to the best of his abilities. She wiped the tears off his whiskered cheeks. "This isn't a dream, Naruto. For now and ever, this is your home too. You're my new friend, and I won't let you go without a fight. I can already see we'll be the best of friends," she said in a comforting tone. Naruto wrapped her in a hug and cried silently into her shoulder, which Akane quickly returned. A few minutes passed before his shaking died off, and he passed out from exhaustion. Akane rolled him onto his back and covered him in a blanket before standing up. She made her way out of the room. With a sad smile, she shut the door, leaving the blonde alone to rest. Masumi clan compound, the dining room. "That's ridiculous. How can anyone treat a kid like that?" a clansman roared. "And they have the nerve to call us monster," a clanswoman shouted, getting many nods of agreements from the others. The door to the dining room suddenly slid open, revealing a saddened Akane. She walked back over to her seat and sat down beside Aki. "Is Naruto alright?" Kenichi asked what most of the family wanted to. "He's sleeping. He's afraid that this is all one big dream and that he's going to wake up all alone again. I tried to make him feel better," Akane said, holding back her own tears. Kenichi frowned sadly. "I hope everyone here will continue to treat him well. But please don't give him pity. Kemi knows I wouldn't want it. Just treat the boy like everyone else his age," he said sternly. Getting nods of agreement, the clan members stood up and started filing out of the room with thoughts on their minds. Everyone's mood soured by what Kenichi said, some mumbling some choice words about Konoha. When the room finally cleared out, leaving Akane and Kenichi alone, he spoke. "I hope you'll continue to spend time with him, sweetheart," Kenichi stated, his voice reverberating off the walls. "Tusan, he's going to be so much fun to be around." He saw our dojo, and his first thoughts were about how awesome a game of hide-and-seek would be. "We'll get along just fine, and the others will love him," she said, as they both chuckled. "I have a feeling things are going to start changing, and we'll be pulled into something big. Whatever it is, I can only hope we're ready for it," Kenichi said, looking off distantly. Akane simply nodded. An eerie orange-tinted sky greeted Naruto as he opened his sapphire eyes. His head rolled over to his side, spotting an empty, familiar alleyway. He recognized the area from the few times the crazed villagers would chase him around. Tall oaken fences lined the alley, leaving the area bland. He climbed to his feet and gave a depressed sigh. I guess it was just a dream, after all, he thought tiredly. Slowly, he started wandering the village like he usually did to pass the time. A slow hour passed as Naruto wandered around. Something felt off about his home village. For starters, everything is shaded in the same eerie orange that illuminated the sky. Secondly, he has yet to see or hear anyone or anything. No shinobi are jumping from the rooftops above, or villagers chatting amongst each other. It's quiet and abandoned. When he reached one of the more busier shopping districts of Konoha, he expected it to be filled with cold, uncaring villagers going about their business. Yet to his surprise, it's deserted much like every other area he explored up to this point. He took his time stepping into each individual store, but they are all cold and empty. There is no merchandise lining the shelves. It's as if everyone decided to get up and move at the same time. Where is everyone? Naruto thought, scratching the back of his head. He continued to explore, and to his surprise he finally found someone. A young girl that appeared a couple of years older than himself with bright red hair. She turned a corner just as he opened his mouth to call out to her. Nothing escaped his mouth, as if something blocked his vocal cords. He shook his head before cheering after her. When he turned the same corner, he came across another abandoned street. Eventually, the blonde gave up finding anyone. Naruto decided to head back to his home, the park where he slept, to think. It's there that he managed to find people. The same red-haired girl he only spotted briefly and an unusually familiar spiky blonde-haired boy. They are both sitting on the swing set, talking amongst each other, but he couldn't hear them. Stepping closer, he got a better view of them. He has seen plenty of kids from his perch in the tree, but he couldn't recall ever seeing them before. The girl has porcelain skin and a round face, much like his own. Her bright red hair reached just past her shoulders, naturally framing her face. She has beautiful, vibrant violet eyes that whirled with a mixture of emotions. She wore a cute short-sleeved kimono-style yellow blouse with a black embroidered border. It's held together with a sharp black obi. She also wore a dark short skirt with black stockings and simple brown sandals. Naruto, for the first time, felt himself blushing. Wow, she's pretty, he thought before examining the other kid. The older blonde-haired boy sort of threw Naruto for a loop. It felt like staring into a mirror, but things were just different enough. His face is more angular than his own, not to mention missing his unique whisker birthmarks. His hair isn't quite as spiky as his own, but his bangs reached his jaw. However, his eyes are the same shade of his own but seemed more lively if not older. He wore a white hoodie with green trimmings, dark-colored leggings with simple sandals. I wonder who they are, he thought idly. Naruto finally brought up the courage to approach them and started walking toward them with a confident but friendly demeanor. He attempted to say hello, but voice refused to work. Just as he got close enough to reach out, they both turned their heads and met his eyes. Their eyes narrowed in confusion before lighting up. Naruto couldn't place it, but their eyes aren't filled with the usual hatred or disgust. They both smiled and dismounted the swings to greet him. However, fate has other plans. The ground underneath Naruto crumbled away, shattering like glass. He felt his body become weightless as he slipped backward. He fell slowly, unnaturally slow into the abyss that welcomed him with open arms. The darkness seemed to crawl at him, pulling him into a cold embrace. The eerie orange-tinted sky mocked him as the darkness swallowed him whole. His last moments, he spotted the girl and boy watching him with a shocked and worried expression. Just as he slipped into unconsciousness, he heard both call out, "Naruto!" Masumi clan compound, Naruto's room. Naruto shot up quickly, panting heavily from his vivid dream. He could still feel the dirt of his feet, the stale air against his face, and the uncomfortable feeling the entire area gave him. He could remember those two older kids looking at him with worry. The same question crossed his mind from earlier. I wonder who they are. He fell backward onto the soft pillow he slept on and groaned in confusion and irritation. He rubbed his eyes tiredly before pinching the bridge of his nose. Naruto blinked away the sleepiness and stared up at the bland ceiling. He kicked his feet over the edge of the bed, allowing his feet to dangle in the air. His eyes examined the room since last night he wasn't in the right mindset to do so. The room is dull and mostly empty. The design of the room followed the same pattern as the rest of the compound. The full-size bed is crafted with a walnut-colored wood. 4 soft white fluffy pillows rested at the head, his head's impressions still imprinted. Much to Naruto's expectation, the sheets for the bed are a deep red color. Naruto climbed out of his bed, standing up on the smooth, cold wooden flooring. He curiously made his way to the decently sized dresser to see what is held within. Sliding one of the drawers open, surprisingly, there are a few sets of clean clothes neatly folded. A small white card stood on top of it with elegant writing printed onto it. He quickly read it, and a small smile tugged at his lips. For Naruto Kenichi Masumi, head of the Masumi clan. He put the note down on top of the dresser. He bit the inside of his cheek as he glossed over each set of clothes. Each pair has one thing in common. All the shirts are red. He pulled out one pair and shut the drawer and laid it out on the bed. It's a simple red short-sleeved shirt and beige shorts. Naruto looked over at another door attached to his room. Walking over, he opened it to reveal a small restroom. The floor is a sleek marble that contrasted the blood-red walls. There's a simple white toilet, a matching countertop with a sink that is a tad too high for him to reach with a large mirror. Separated by a thin wall and curtains is a bathtub. Deciding to clean himself up, she shed his dirty clothes and turned on the water. Much to his surprise and pleasure, the water is warm and comforting. He stepped into the running water and began scrubbing at the grime that covered his body. A small bottle of clear scentless soap grabbed his attention. He never got any soap before, just cold water. He hesitantly took it and used it to clean himself like never before. His body felt lighter, like he dropped some weight. Shutting off the water, he stepped out of the tub and over to the counter. Spying his first problem, he glanced around, hoping to find a particular piece of furniture. Thankfully, he spotted it, a walnut-colored stepping stool. Pulling it from under the sink, he stepped up and wiped the fog from the mirror. He gazed at his appearance with curiosity, and his blue eyes stared back. His spiky golden blonde hair is cleaner than he could ever remember. His 3 whisker-adorned cheeks are still there. Nothing has changed. I'm still me, he thought, tilting his head to the side. He looked over at the contents that sat on the countertop. A single wooden toothbrush, a small container of toothpaste, and the same note he found on his clothing. Shrugging his shoulders, he brushed his teeth until they sparkled in the mirror. 2 minutes later, he spat out the toothpaste and gave a dejected sigh when his teeth refused to sparkle. Though his mouth is pleasantly minty and refreshing. Stepping off the stool, he quickly dried himself with a fluffy white towel. After relieving himself, he stepped back into the cold air of his bedroom. Back in his room, he slipped on his new clothes. Naruto didn't know how he felt about the red shirt. It didn't seem to be the right color for him. However, it is comfortable. He could honestly say that he's in heaven. He felt so refreshed, clean, and peaceful. His grin brightened, and his morning energy spiked. Stepping out of his bedroom, he began making his way toward the dining room. He couldn't remember ever being shown Akane's bedroom, so finding her could be a challenge. He hoped that she would be eating breakfast, or at least stumble upon her. He wondered if Akane would want to play hide-and-seek or not. He imagined himself standing victoriously as he won the game, easily. Everyone bowed down before him, praising him for being a master of stealth. His eyes sparkled in a dreamy state as he lost himself in his fantasy. "Hey kid," a male voice called out, waving a hand in front of Naruto's face. "I don't mean to interrupt whatever it is going through your head, but you're drooling," he commented with an amused smile. Naruto blinked before his face dusted a bright red with embarrassment. Wiping the drool from the corner of his mouth, he looked up at the familiar man. The man is as tall as Kenichi with jet black hair and silver highlights. His dark silver slitted eyes held confidence. He wore a black kimono that matched his hair. A unique pattern showing 9 swirling tails is embroidered into the cloth. His 5 black and silver tails followed behind him lazily. "Oh, sorry," Naruto chuckled awkwardly while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. "No problem, kid. I just didn't want your face planting into a wall." "Thanks," he replied with a grin before shooting his hand outward. "I'm Naruto, nice to meet ya," he said, introducing himself. "I'm fully aware of who you are, kid." "My name is Rika Masumi," the man known as Rika said. It suddenly clicked in Naruto's head on where he knew this man from. "You're the one who made dinner last night," he exclaimed, pointing his finger outward. "It was perfect," he stated, his mouth watering remembering his meal. "That I am. Glad you enjoyed it so much." "It's hard not to though, all my food is incredible after all," Rika stated confidently, puffing out his chest while mentally patting himself on the back. "Oh yeah, before I forget, your breakfast is in the dining room. Akane and a few other kids are waiting on you. So, you better get a move on," he said thoughtfully. "Gotcha!" Naruto exclaimed, rushing off toward the dining room. Riku watched the kids run away and felt his lips tug upward. From what he had been told of the kid's life, it's comforting to know he can still smile. He could see lingering emotions in the kid's eyes, however. He figured the kid is scared that they would just toss him aside. Shaking his head, he walked over to his room and opened it. "Foxy, your favorite most incredible husband, is back," he said in a sing-song voice. He received a thumb on the back of his head from his wife. "When did you become so narcissistic?" the woman asked with a raised eyebrow while closing their bedroom door. "He's lucky I love him so much," the wife thought. Masumi clan compound, dining room. Akane is sitting anxiously in her chair, slowly eating her breakfast while waiting for Naruto to arrive. "If he doesn't wake up soon, I'll have to go get him," she thought, twirling her chopsticks in her hand. Her eyes drifted from her food to the door, and she let out a sigh. "What wrong, Akane-chan?" "You keep sighing and watching the door," Aki said, her eyes suddenly glimmering. "Oh, are you waiting for our new blonde fish cake?" she asked, wiggling her eyebrows. In return, Aki received a light bop on the head. "Ow," she mumbled, rubbing her head. The door to the dining room slid open, revealing Naruto in his new attire. Akane and Aki both gave him an approving look at the red. Naruto made eye contact with Akane and smiled foxily at her. "Morning, Akane-chan," Aki and Naruto started to say before trailing off, not recognizing the boy sitting beside Aki. The boy in question looked up from his meal and blinked slowly. "How bothersome, it's Dano," he said half-heartedly. He looked slightly taller than Akane and Aki, but with him slouched over, he couldn't clearly tell. Unlike the girls, Dano has short jet black hair with crimson streaks running through it. His greenish-silver slitted eyes have a lazy aura. Much like the girls, he wore a red long-sleeved shirt with black baggy leggings. His one jet black tail rested comfortably in his lap. "That's cool," Naruto replied cheerfully. "Good morning, Naruto-kun," Akane greeted. "Good morning, fish cake," Aki stated cheekily at the same time, causing Naruto's eye to twitch slightly. Naruto grumbled as he worked his way over to the table, sitting down beside Akane like last night. The meal laid out before Naruto is a simple traditional Japanese breakfast. Grilled fish with miso soup, steamed vegetables, and a small green salad with a side of juice. The smell is angelic. Looking at his food tactically, he started forming a game plan. He would eat the grilled fish and miso soup at the same time, maximizing the flavor. Afterward, he'd proceed to devour his steamed vegetables, ending on his salad. The plan is worthy of Naruto's genius. It did not take long for his plan to come into effect, as he consumed everything with a passion. The witnesses stared in mute horror, as everything vanished before the blonde black hole. To them, it's as if watching a soldier step into a battlefield and decimating the opposing forces. Truly, the grilled fish never stood a chance. Naruto leaned back, releasing a small burp before rubbing his stomach happily. Another 5-star meal, he thought dreamily. He felt eyes watching him, so he turned his head to meet his admirers. Akane, Aki, and Dano stared at him in disbelief. What?" he stuttered, unsure of what he did. "You just ate faster than we expected," Akane said warily. "It smelled so good, I couldn't help myself," Naruto defended. "The food tastes a lot better when you can taste it." "Fish cake," Aki said matter-of-factly. "Anyways, Naruto-kun, want to spend the day with us?" Akane asked, hopefully. Though she has a feeling, he would even if she didn't ask. "Sure!" Naruto chirped immediately, not even having to think about it. "Oh goody," Akane said, clapping her hands together once. "We're planning on walking the sanctuary, then meeting up with a few of our other friends," she said with a smile. "I know they'll love to meet you," she added as an afterthought. Naruto talked with the 3 of them while they finished their own breakfast. He discovered that Aki and Dano are Kenjutsu partners, though he still didn't fully understand what that meant. He also learned that they both enjoy sparring with Akane since she's labeled as a Kenjutsu prodigy. They asked him if Naruto has any interest in learning the art himself. Of course, he answered yes since they all enjoyed it. His answer seemed to excite his emerald-eyed friend. After breakfast, the group made their way out of the dining area. At the front door, they all slid on their sandals, though Akane had to run and grab a spare pair for Naruto. Dano pushed the front door open and stepped out, followed by the other 3 kids. They walked toward the entrance to the compound, Aki beside Dano and Naruto beside Akane. However, they got stopped by Kenichi. "Good morning, kids," Kenichi greeted. "Morning too, San," Akane said warmly, wrapping him in a hug. "Morning, Kenichi," Naruto exclaimed. "Morning, sir," Aki and Dano said together in different tones. "Where are you 4 off to?" Kenichi asked, studying them. They looked like they are leaving the compound, which meant that Naruto is going with them. It would be his first time exploring the sanctuary. The citizens would stare since it's not every day you see a new face. The boy's blonde hair stood out. "We're going to show Naruto around and go meet up with the others at the park," Akane answered. The man hummed. "Alright, you 4 have fun. Please be careful and keep an eye on Naruto. We don't want him getting lost, do we?" he said, looking closely at Akane. When they nodded, he walked away toward his office. "Okay, let's get going," Akane said, grabbing Naruto's hand and tugging him along. Kitsun's sanctuary. Naruto sat on the ground, panting tiredly. Akane, Aki, and Dano stood around him, each smirking in their own way. Once they exited the compound, Naruto came to face one of the greatest enemies of the Masumi clan. An enemy who defeats all at least once. It's the dreaded stairs that led to the town. The stairs aren't a straight shot down, it weaved through the forest and terrain. It's a 20-minute walk if you're not running it, but if you've experienced the stairs once, then running them gets more manageable. When they explained this to Naruto, that they would walk the path to make sure Naruto didn't exhaust himself, he said he would be fine and run with them. After debating it with a very stubborn Naruto, they finally relented and started running the path. At the halfway point, Naruto started to regret his choice. They forgot to inform him that it didn't just go down, it went up as well. Though, while he tried to keep up with his new friends, he did attempt to take in the sights. The forest around him is beautiful and felt magical. He did have to wonder, why did they build their home on top of a mountain? Do they not like guests or something? Finally, they reached the bottom of the stairs, where they promptly chucked at Naruto when he collapsed. Naruto shot them all a playful glare and started pouting. He is of the personal opinion that they should have explained that it isn't just downhill. He would have seriously considered walking it. Deep down, though, he knew he wouldn't have relented either way. "I have to admit, fish cake, most can't run the entire trail their first time. Call me impressed, you got lots of stamina," Aki complimented, a teasing grin on her face. An idea struck her. It would be fun, yet devious, to introduce him to the Miwa clan. They would love to have a new toy to play with. She suddenly started cackling evilly, making Akane and Dano take a significant step away from her. Dano nodded in agreement but looked slightly worried about his new friend. Aki's cackles always meant a prank would be happening soon. He lowered his head and prayed gently for Naruto's safety. Akane eyed Aki suspiciously for the same reason Dano is currently praying. Shrugging, she turned back toward Naruto, who stood up and muttered something about Maelstrom. Coughing into her hand to grab everyone's attention, she asked Naruto, "So, any place you want to see?" Naruto shrugged his shoulder. "I kind of want to see the park," he said honestly. He always felt at home in a park. "We'll be going there later, so I guess we can just show you around," Akane said with a short nod. Naruto smiled. The group took off along the cobblestone path into the town. He only got a sneak peek of the sanctuary when he first arrived via the tree portal. His first visit to the village is incredible. The place is so different compared to what Naruto is used to seeing in Konoha. Unlike Konoha, the village pathways are all stone instead of dirt. This made the town look cleaner and more refined. One thing he noted is that nature seemed to have a firm grasp on everything. Vibrant green vines with small pink flowers latched onto the buildings. Trees, grass, and flowers filled every spot that didn't house a structure. The buildings all seemed to follow a uniform color design, white walls with red lining. The shops have large glass windows displaying their merchandise. There are what appear to be townhomes plopped down occasionally. Cutting through the sanctuary is a crystal-clear river. As Naruto crossed over a stone bridge, he noticed all the beautiful, variously colored koi fish swimming in the water. The people wandering around are another note of interest. Naruto noticed that while some stared at him, they are all friendlier compared to the villagers back in Konoha. He noted that they all, for the most part, wore kimonos. It felt like he walked amongst royalty, which made him slightly wary and uncomfortable. Another thing he noticed is that almost everyone has one or two tails. Even adults. He assumed that as you got older, you got more tails. "Akane-chan, why does everyone have a different number of tails?" Naruto asked suddenly, voicing his own thoughts. Akane glanced over at her blonde friend with a raised eyebrow. "I didn't think he'd notice," she thought before thinking over her answer. It's a bit complicated, and I've only started learning this myself. You see, there are 9 primary clans in the sanctuary that are blessed by Kurama. They are his sons and daughters. If you are born from one of those clans, you are gifted with more of his traits. Everyone else that isn't is just normal foxes that stumbled their way here. Natural energy turned them into what you see now, she lectured concisely. Naruto pondered the new information. So, clans get more power because of Kurama while the others are just normal foxes? He asked, tilting his head to the side. Heavily simplified, but yes, Akane said, nodding her head. Don't underestimate them, though. The kitsune around here still got their own traits. Some train up their bodies to reach their second tail, some even manage their third. Aki stated fiercely, passionately. I don't think he was underestimating them, Aki Dano said, trailing off. Their conversation carried on for a while as they walked the town. Naruto would make a comment or ask a question here and there. Akane and Aki showed Naruto some of their favorite stores. Naruto got his first experience with clothing stores, and Dano gave him a look of understanding. The girls did gush over a few elegant red kimonos. As the sun reached its halfway point, Naruto and Aki's stomach roared out a mighty rumble. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly while Aki simply grinned. Akane and Dano both laughed at them before their stomachs growled as well. I guess we should get some lunch. What should we do? Akane thought out loud. Barbecue! Aki exclaimed, jumping up and down. Sushi? Dano suggested. All three looked over to Naruto for his input but saw his eyes glazed over. They gave him a questioning look before following his line of sight over to a small food bar. Their eyes landed on the only ramen bar in the sanctuary. It isn't the most popular dish, but people enjoyed a little variety in their life. What is that? Naruto asked dreamily. The smell is intoxicating. It's as every cell in his body craved whatever it smelled. That would be Sokka's ramen bar, Akane said, giggling at Naruto's dreamy face. I want ramen, Naruto said, his eyes glowing with determination. No one would dare deny him this. The other would have to accept their defeat and go with his suggestion. Akane looked at the other, who just shrugged. It looked like they would be having ramen for lunch today. Though Aki looked amused for some reason. They approached the bar and took a seat. Naruto on Akane's left, and Aki on her right. Dano sat beside Aki in the wall. They have eaten here before, and they didn't think it was anything special. Still, it was good food. A woman walked over to the counter and pulled out a small white pad and pencil to take their orders. She has long, caramel brown hair that framed her heart-shaped face. She has pure bright brown slitted eyes. She wore a forest green long-sleeved shirt with a white apron over top it. Hello, what can I get you for today? The woman asked with a pencil at the ready. I'll take beef ramen, extra beef, please, Aki answered. Shrimp ramen for me, Dano followed after. Chicken for me, extra veggies, Sokka-san, Akane replied. The woman wrote down their orders and looked over at the final customer. His eyes danced across the menu multiple times before he nodded to himself. He placed down the list and looked at her with utmost seriousness. She quirked a smile. Naruto was at a loss. He didn't know what to order. He considered ordering the chicken ramen, but something told him that it isn't the right one for him. Perhaps he should go for the beef ramen, but once more, his gut told him no. He didn't desire shrimp at the moment, so he quickly waved that one off. At that moment, one flavored called out to him like a siren's song. He put down the menu and looked up at the lady. I'll take a bowl of miso ramen, extra pork, he stated with the sternest voice his 4-year-old body could muster. She scribbled down his order. All right, food will be out shortly, she said, heading toward her cooking station. Soon enough, a steaming bowl of salty goodness sat in front of them. The group of 4 broke apart their chopsticks and said their thanks for digging into their meal. Unknowingly to Akane, Aki, and Dano, they had just released a monster. The aura around Naruto turned to absolute happiness, his eyes transformed to shining stars. The area around him seemed brighter, and rays of light from the heavens cast their gaze down upon him. The 3 kids stared at Naruto with a raised eyebrow before recognizing his face from breakfast. A brief flash of horror dawned on their face. The ramen never stood a chance. The most terrifying thing is only how much more intense it was. It was over in a minute. The bowl that once contained Naruto's ramen now empty, devoid of its salty goodness. It looked as if there had never been food in it. They sighed in relief. At least it's over, the thought, but to their horror, they heard Naruto say, another bowl, please. 9 bowls later, the 3 stared at the blonde-haired boy with fear and growing fascination. Naruto scarfed down each bowl, slurping the noodles down as fast as the last. One thought coursed through their minds, where does it all go? They could see him about to ask for an 11th bowl, but Akane stepped in quickly. She literally could not afford to let this continue. And Naruto, I think you've had enough, Akane stuttered fearfully, scared for her money. Naruto wanted to object but reluctantly gave in with a small nod of acceptance. He rubbed his stomach contently, releasing a pleased moan. I could still eat more, he thought. He decided right then and there that no meal would ever compare to this. This is an authentic 5-star meal. Akane, Aki, and Dano paid a happy ramen chef who eagerly told them to come again. She especially wanted Naruto to come back, who she eyed like a slab of prime meat. Akane clutched her money purse sadly and sighed in defeat. Aki and Dana looked at her with pity while Naruto only looked confused. Soon enough, they continued their tour of the village, showing Naruto a few other shops. They refused to show him any more restaurants out of fear for Naruto's questionable appetite. This went on for the next 2 hours before they finally started heading over to the park. Kitsun Sanctuary, Sin Park. The park isn't precisely what Naruto pictured in his head. He expected a swing set, monkey bars, things to climb on. This is a little over the top, even for him. Sure, there are rope swings tied onto tree branches. However, there is a giant obstacle course that weaved through the massive trees, going through the leafy canopy far above. The creek in the center sparkled with the rays of light piercing the leaves. Much like the river, it is also filled with colorful koi fish. Children are running through the park playing with one another. Some running the obstacle course with their friends, laughing and having fun. Kids in both fox and humanoid forms are curled up sleeping under the rays of light and shade. Others are merely swimming in the creek, splashing each other. A small smile crept onto Naruto's face. This place looks like fun, he thought excitedly. Akane! A loud voice called from Naruto's side. Naruto's head swiveled to the side to see a girl who looked a few years older than himself speeding toward them. The girl's light auburn hair is held up in a loose ponytail. He couldn't help but stare at the girl's tight burnt orange shirt. The color just felt right, as if the color called out to him. The short black elastic shorts matched well with the orange, Naruto noted. In the back of his mind, he decided he would steal this girl's color scheme. He met the girl's eyes. They are a deep ocean blue color that gleamed with unparalleled energy and untold excitement. Her two energetic auburn tails swished behind her. And it begins, Akane muttered to herself, only barely heard by the blonde boy. She suddenly smiled, her eyes shining brightly. Hello, Natsuko, she waved at her energetic friend. What took you so long to get here? Isamu has been driving me insane. I mean, he usually does, but it's been even more insane, Natsuko rambled loudly while trying to express her displeasure. I was showing my new friend, Naruto, around town today, Akane replied, gesturing toward Naruto, who watched the interaction curiously. The girl looked over at the blonde, then back at Akane, then again at Naruto. She got into a thinking pose, her finger tapping her chin while humming and muttering things to herself. A glimmer of light shined in her eyes before she dramatically pointed at Naruto. Who are you? She asked, causing the group to stumble. An impressive feat since they are standing still. She just told you. I'm Naruto. Naruto exclaimed. Oh, Natsuko replied simply. She got back into a thinking pose and stared at him critically. Yup, you'll do, she hummed lightly. What'll do? Naruto inquired, eyeing the new girl warily. She waved his question off without a care in the world. Hello, my name is Natsuko Miwa, but you already knew that. Well, except you didn't know the Miwa part. You do now, though. She rambled quickly, almost making Naruto dizzy. Naruto blinked slowly at the exuberant girl before looking over to his friend for help. Akane just sighed and shrugged her shoulders, but the evil chucking coming from Aki sent shivers down his spine. Shuddering, he looked back at the girl who was now standing very close to him. He took a step back, but she just made an eager step forward. This continued another 3 steps before a hand stopped her. Suko, stop it, an older boy said, appearing out of nowhere beside them. He has short, spiky dark orange hair that sort of resembled Naruto's style. His violet-slitted eyes are sharp, matching his angular face. He wore an open black jacket that exposed his developing chest. He also wore light gray shorts and the same white shoes as Natsuko. His 2 dark orange tails moved sharply behind him. You're always ruining my fun, Isamu, Natsuko pouted. Of course, it only makes sense for your better to keep you in line, Suko, Isamu said, laughing at the girl's suddenly darkening eyes. You? My better? Natsuko scoffed. I seem to recall me winning our last 3 contests, she replied in a superior tone, her hand resting on her hip. Isamu just shrugged off her comment. A fluke happens every now and then, he said simply, nodding his head sagely. Natsuko grinned. Indeed it does. That would explain your wins, she countered, nodding her head even more sagely. What did you say? He shouted. You heard me, or are your ears failing? She retorted just as loudly. While they continued to bicker, Naruto looked back over to his traveling group. Akane seemed to be getting annoyed while Dana looked tired. Aki, on the other hand, looks pleased with the current situation, as if a plan is coming together. Naruto finally relented after another minute of their arguing and asked, why are they fighting? Their clans are rivals with each other. Both have far too much energy for their own good. Don't worry though, it's all in good spirit, she answered. A few more minutes of constant shouting, and a spontaneous game of rock-paper-scissors later, she finally had enough. She bopped both on the head, planting their face roughly into the dirt. That's enough, Natsuko, Isamu! She shouted. Sorry, they both mumbled in unison. Isamu quickly jumped to his feet and decided to introduce himself to the new kid. Hey kid, name's Isamu Takeo. He walked over and slid his arm around his shoulder. You can thank me anytime for saving you from her, he chortled. Okay? Naruto replied, unsure what to do. The conversation went to a halt with Isamu staring at him expectantly, confusing Naruto. Suddenly it clicked in the blonde's head that he wanted to be thanked. Thank you? He replied, tilting his head slightly. Isamu nodded his head with gratification. So, how old are you? You're a bit short, he inquired curiously. Naruto felt his eyebrow twitch at the short comment. I turned 5 this year, he answered, a tad uncomfortable with the older boy's arm around his shoulder. Ah, cool squirt, Isamu commented. I'm 7, and that sore loser. You haven't won 4 times in a row now. Natsuko retaliated. Over there is 7 as well, the orange-haired kid stated, gesturing toward his friend. I'm the oldest, though. Natsuko chirped. It isn't a contest, Tsuko. He retorted. Well, duh. A contest implies you have a chance at winning. I'm decimating you in it, she replied smugly. He would have replied if he didn't suddenly fear for his life. It seemed they both forgot that they already have the ire of Akane. A dark shadow loomed over her face, which made Natsuko and Isamu cling to each other. What did I say about fighting constantly? She asked menacingly. Not to, they both whimpered. Are you going to stop? She asked, leaning over them like an angry god. Yes. They both cried. Goody, Akane chirped, steepling her fingers together. Her entire demeanor shifting to a passive angel. The shift could cause whiplash. The energetic scene caught the attention of a few surround kits, which gathered into a group beside Dano and Aki. Some of them chuckled at the familiar banter, others amused by the infamous Masumi rage in action. A few watched lazily or stayed silent with a small smile. Hey guys, Dano said to the gathered group. He noticed his friends starting to gather around them but waited for his 2 eccentric friends to stop. Their limitless energy made him want to sleep. What took you all so long to get here? One of the boys asked. Showing the new guy around, Dano replied with a shrug. Oh, Naruto. Let me introduce you to some of my friends. Akane exclaimed excitedly, pulling him over with her, away from Natsuko and Isamu. They both sighed in relief. Everyone, this is Naruto. He's staying with Aki, Dano, and I, she said, pulling said blonde close to her side. Hi, Naruto said awkwardly, not used to meeting so many new people. Hello, Naruto, it's nice to meet you. I'm Kigo Hiro, a boy that is slightly taller than Akane said kindly. He has short, dirty brown hair that reminded him of fresh soil and soft, golden slitted eyes. He wore a loose forest green kimono with a dark green sash tied around his waist. Unlike his 2 new acquaintances, Kigo is barefoot. His 2 tails rested gently against the grass. I'm Hana Yuzuki, a girl around Naruto's age bowed. She has beautiful snow-white hair that covered her left eye, only showing her right crimson slitted eye. She wore an elegant silver kimono with a black obi and is also barefoot. Her one fluffy snow-white tail is wrapped comfortably around her. Jin now, a boy standing beside Hana yawned, waving lazily. He has short gray hair with a thin streak of black running through it. His brown slitted eyes are half closed, looking tired. He wore a black long-sleeved shirt, baggy gray pants, and brown sandals. His 2 gray tails rested on the grass lazily. And that's, he pointed at a girl, Shizuka Mana. She doesn't talk often, he said with a shrug. Shizuka bowed her head politely. She has long wavy red hair that framed her round face that gave him a sense of déjà vu. Cold, calculating violet eyes peered through her bangs. She wore a plain black kimono shirt with a somewhat loose gray sash tied around her waist. She also wore skin-tight jet black pants that matched her simple black sandals. Her single red tail waved quietly behind her. It's nice to meet you all, Naruto replied with a friendly smile. Though, he eyed Shizuka a tad longer than the rest. He couldn't place it, but she looked strangely familiar to him. It's right on the tip of his tongue, but shook it off when it couldn't come. Aki eagerly stepped forward, chuckling with a mischievous glint in her eye that the group easily recognized. They silently prayed for whoever the victim would be. Oh, Natsuko, Isamu, she said in a sing-song tone. I believe our blonde fish cake here may be better than both of you. He managed to run down the Masumi stairs on his first try, she stated with awe, conveniently not mentioning how exhausted he was afterward. He's got more stamina than you, Natsuko, she said, mockingly patting her shoulder. The collective group of kids winced. Natsuko and Isamu's eyes widened before narrowing at Naruto. Oh, so this squirt thinks he's better than both of us? Isamu said, cracking his knuckles. I believe he does, she replied, cracking her neck. We challenge you to a race. They both demanded in unison. What? Naruto spat out a jumbled sentence. We'll do 10 laps around the park. No pushing or shoving, got it? Whoever comes in last loses. Isamu laid out the ground rules. Naruto didn't really know what is happening but decided to go along with it. The 3 lined up together, 2 confident and the other wary but excited to play. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Isamu shouted, the 3 rushing off. Akane growled. Yes? Aki asked, the perfect picture of innocence as she unsubtle hid behind Dano. Why did you do that? Akane asked slowly. Do what? Aki replied, cutely tilting her head. You know what? Why did you do that to Naruto? Akane ground out. Oh, that, Aki commented before grinning. I thought it would be funny. I was right, it was. she chirped, giggling madly at her prank. Her smirk quickly fell when Dano pushed her toward the looming monster. Traitor! She cried out as her face got buried in the dirt. Ow, she groaned out, rubbing her head. The group watched the trio run, and soon 5 laps went by. The group noticed that I started to fall slightly further behind Natsuko and Isamu, though they couldn't help but be impressed. Not many can keep up with the rivaling duo. They knew he wouldn't win, however. The previous lap, he already looked a bit tired. 5 more laps later, Natsuko crossed the finish line only a second before Isamu. She looked expectantly smug about her win. A minute and a half later, Naruto passed the finish line and promptly collapsed onto his knees. He's sweating and breathing heavily from one of the most intense races he's ever participated in. Which, to be fair, is none. He fell backward onto the grass and rested. The cold forest floor and light breeze soothed his heated body. Well, I've got to say, Squirt, you're not bad, Isamu complimented. Yeah, not bad, Naruto-kun, Natsuko agreed. Both standing beside the exhausted blonde, letting him catch his breath. They both enjoyed themselves and having someone else join them for once. The group of Kitsun went and sat around Naruto and spent time together. Natsuko and Isamu spoke of their family competitions coming up before they began bickering with one another. They both eventually ran off toward the obstacle course shouting at each other. Hana, Aki, and Akane talked about clothing, training, and some future family events while Naruto's head rested on Akane's lap. Dano and Kigo wandered off into the forest together, talking about Kenjutsu and nature. Jin and Shizuka remained silent, observing. A few hours passed, and the sky turned a pretty orange as the sun began to hide behind the horizon. The park slowly emptied as people went home for dinner, which soon included Naruto's new group of friends. As their last friend left, Akane, Aki, Dano, and Naruto gathered and left the park together. Soon they arrived at the accursed stairs that Naruto didn't desire to climb. He grimaced when Aki and Dano bolted up the stairs, vanishing along the path. Naruto decided to walk the path alongside Akane. He had run enough for today and decided to just relax. They walked in relative silence. The forest around the two children continued to darken, both listening to the leaves rustle in the chill breeze. They both enjoyed the relaxing walk and the company. Did you have fun, Naruto-kun? Akane asked quietly. Yeah. I really like your friends, Akane-chan, Naruto replied warmly. They're great, but take some getting used to, Akane giggled. I like playing with Tsuko-chan and Isamu, but I wish Aki hadn't said that to them, Naruto said, sighing. She's a known prankster, Akane grumbled. I'll prank her back then. That's a promise, Naruto shouted, eyes filled with playful determination. Oh no, look out, Aki, a maelstrom is coming for you, she said mirthfully. Naruto shot her a playful glare before breaking into laughter with her. The laughter slowly died down back into a peaceful silence as they continued their walk. Akane and Naruto both have a gentle smile gracing their face. Masumi clan compound, nighttime. Akane and Naruto both entered the compound, sliding out of their sandals and heading toward the dining room. Since it's so late in the evening, Naruto assumed they would already be eating dinner. Walking through the empty halls, they started to hear voices and laughter getting louder. Akane slid the door open and walked in. Naruto quickly followed after her, and they both sat in their seats from yesterday. Everyone talked amongst each other, but a few took notice of Naruto's presence. A few stared at him before returning to their previous conversations. He saw Riku congratulating himself for creating another perfect meal, which got him a smack on the back of the head from a woman sitting beside him. He noticed that Kenichi and Akane are staring at one another but decided to look at tonight's meal. The dinner sat in front of him looked good. White rice, steamed vegetables, grilled chicken with a soy sauce marinade, and a cup of green tea. Building up an appetite from his exercise today, he happily dug into his meal. However, he noticed something rather disappointing. Something he didn't even consider a possibility. The food isn't as good as ramen, not even close. He would admit that the food is good, just like his last meal here, but it didn't call out to him as ramen did. He ate his dinner with noticeably less enthusiasm than the previous night. Although his lack of excitement did not go unnoticed by the chef. Naruto, why aren't you eating my food with the same passion I saw yesterday? Do you not like the food? He called out, gathering the attention of everyone at the table. Though no one dared to inflate Riku's already massive ego, his food is considered to be some of the best. What? He squeaked. No, it's great, Naruto said frantically, not wanting to insult Riku's food. I just can't help but notice you're not digging it like yesterday. My food is far too good for you to only start eating slowly, Riku declared loudly, causing everyone to stare blankly at the man. I believe I know what's going on, Aki suddenly said, getting a few raised eyebrows. Well? Riku asked, motioning for her to continue. It's not ramen, Aki stated with a sagely nod. Ramen? Riku intoned. Ramen, Aki parroted. I see, Riku said distantly, and a plan began to form in his head. Then, I shall endeavor to make the best ramen in the world for tomorrow's dinner. That will surely reignite Naruto's passion in my food, Riku exclaimed dramatically. Yes. Naruto cheered in glee, while Akane, Aki, and Dano paled equally. They all shuddered, remembering Naruto's terrifying line. Another bowl, please. They weren't sure they could face that monster again. Naruto, on the other hand, has a dreamy look adorned on his face. If Riku's food is already this good, then his ramen will be even better, he thought dreamily. Somehow, in a short time, ramen had wormed its way into his heart and become his favorite food. He could still hear the ramen calling to him from lunch. Perhaps one day, he would be known as the Ramen Whisperer. With renewed vigor, Naruto started consuming Riku's food. Everyone except Akane, Aki, and Dano, who are still having flashbacks, laughed at the boy's antics and continued to talk while eating. Soon enough, dinner finished with everyone satisfied. Riku happily basked in the praise. So, Akane, how did the tour go? Kenichi asked his daughter. It went well, Too-san, Akane replied with a smile. That's wonderful. And Naruto, what did you think of the sanctuary? Kenichi asked, his eyes darting over to the blonde. The other members of the Masumi clan glanced over as well. They each hoped he liked his new home. It's awesome. There is this great ramen stand, and the park is so cool, Naruto chirped, getting a round of laughter from everyone except Riku, who mumbled about his food being better. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself, Kenichi said with a warm chuckle. His eyes turned back toward his daughter. Did anything interesting happen? He questioned curiously. She shrugged her shoulders. Nothing much. Naruto met a few of our friends at the park, she replied. He nodded his head, and the conversation died out. Soon, people stood up and began excusing themselves from the table. The group of 4 kids left the dining room shortly after most left. They planned on playing a game in the living room, the Masumi clan compound, game room. To anyone just walking into the living room, they would simply see 4 kids playing games together. Though if anyone took the time to study the children more closely, they would realize something peculiar. 3 of the child are huddled together while staring at the other with narrowed eyes and a violently twitching eyebrow. Somehow, the blonde boy managed to irritate all of them. He's clearly cheating. He has to be. Aki exclaimed, throwing her hands into the air. I don't believe he is. I've been observing him the entire time, Dano commented, his arms crossed against his chest. I think he has some of the most incredible luck I've ever seen, Akane mumbled loud enough for everyone to hear. Naruto watched them discuss his winning streak with a deadpan look. Why does everyone think I'm cheating? Naruto wondered, not pleased with his friend's train of thought. Even he had to admit his luck is incredible at times. Idly, he wondered if anyone out there has the opposite of him. Luck so bad that they always lose, and when they won, it was a sign of misfortune. Incredible luck, Dano said softly, humming to himself. Suddenly his eyes widened as if an idea struck him. I've got a theory. Naruto, let's play a game of checkers, Dano stated, getting questioning looks for all 3. Dano walked over to a closet filled with games and pulled out a board and a bag of black and red discs. He walked back over to the group and sat down before setting up the board in front of Naruto and himself. It's a simple board, a red and black checkered pattern with matching checkers. Akane and Aki both wondered why he chose checkers, but eventually, it dawned on Akane. Dano explained the rules of checkers, making sure Naruto understood completely. It's a simple game by the look but is quite strategic, requiring planning and focus. He hoped that his theory would hold up. Otherwise, he didn't know how to handle the blonde in games. His approach is that Naruto has incredible luck when it comes to chance. Naruto played to the best of his abilities, but still somewhat unfamiliar with the rules, eventually lost. Dano smirked in victory, however. His theory bore fruit. Give Naruto something based on skill, and he will have the same odds as anyone else. This notion relieved everyone around Naruto, causing him to deadpan once more. What's so bad about me winning? He wondered in a bland tone. So, we never leave Naruto to anything of chance, and we're good? Aki questioned rhetorically. Seems like it, Akane replied, thinking over all her previous games of war with the blonde. The game had left her dumbfounded on how he managed to snag every card of importance, leaving her with pathetic ones. If they simply have to deny Naruto any game of chance to win, they would do it. After all, he can't win at everything, it just wouldn't be fair. Dano yawned into his hand and glanced over at the clock on the wall. Well, I'm heading to bed, see you all tomorrow, he said, standing up and waving at everyone. He quickly made his way out of the room, avoiding the cleanup. Same, I'm pretty tired too. I still haven't showered either. Nighty-night, you too, Aki commented, running after Dano. Naruto and Akane looked at one another before deciding to follow suit and go to bed themselves. They didn't fail to notice that they got left with a mess, but quickly cleaned up all the games. They both walked through the quiet, dark halls and made their way to their bedrooms. They stopped at Naruto's room first, and he said goodnight to her before she wandered off into the dark alone. Naruto shut his bedroom door closed behind him. The moonlight illuminated his room enough that he could see just barely. On his bed, he spotted a clean pair of red striped pajamas laid out for him. They looked really comfortable. Shrugging, he stripped out of his clothing and childishly threw them haphazardly on the floor. He quickly changed into his new pajamas and admired how soft they are. He climbed into his bed and got under the covers, resting his head on the white fluffy pillows while smiling into the darkness. Today had been one of the best days of his life. He managed to make a load of new friends and play with them. It helped that he also managed to discover the best food in existence. Ramen would always hold a place in his heart. He found himself content and happy. Slowly but surely, his eyes became heavy, and he drifted off into a peaceful slumber with a smile still on his face. Konoha. The dark starry sky vanished as the sun rose past the horizon. Large white clouds lazily hovered over the land below. Birds began singing in the large illuminated forest around them, deer woke and grazed the grassy fields. The large village known as Konoha became lively as it bathed in the warm rays of light. Men, women, and children rise from their slumber and begin their days. Stores started opening, streets started filling with a vast amount of people. Shinobi were jumping rooftop to rooftop going about their business. A green spandex-wearing monster began screaming youth as he ran around Konoha on his hands with boulders on his back. It was a normal day like every other. The leader of the village, Hiruzen Sarutobi, woke as well, preparing for an eventful day. He was an older man that looked wise and powerful. His once tan skin from his youth was now paler from sitting inside all day. His dark spiky brown hair was now gray, including his goatee. Wrinkles and liver spots adorned his body. Dressed in his kage uniform, a customary white and red hat with the kanji for fire in the front, a red haori with a white sash tied around his waist. He wore a white cloak over top his haori that has the Sandaime Hokage on the back. Overall, his appearance gave off utmost importance. Hiruzen made his way through the lively streets with a grandfatherly smile plastered on his face. Men, women, and children smiled and waved at their leader as he passed by them. He would nod his head and smile back at everyone. They are his family, and he is always happy to see them. Soon he found himself in his office, a large circular room with 2 large oaken doors leading into it. The walls are beige stone with 6 large windows behind the wooden desk. Stone tiles lined the floor in a simplistic pattern. The walls are lined with bookshelves filled with books, scrolls. To his horror, there on his desk stood a mountain of papers. Paperwork was the bane to all kages. Maybe all the villages could unite to take out this great evil and create peace, the old kage thought. Sighing lowly, he sat down in his chair and began working on a stack of paperwork. It would take him all day, but he would get it done before tomorrow's next wave attacked. He would never give in, never surrender to the evil. If it was war this damn sheet wanted, then war it would get. Thus, with determination alit in his eyes, he attacked the papers with renewed vigor. A few hours passed with only a few interruptions from shinobi coming in for orders, some for direct missions. ANBU, and Satsu Senjutsu Tokushibutai, were stationed in his office, hiding in the dark recesses of his office ready to defend their leader. The elderly man began to let his mind wander while slowly going over his paperwork. He thought of his 3 students, the 3 legendary ninja, the Sannin. They were his prized students that he cared for deeply, that all fell from grace in their own way. Orochimaru was a student that Hiruzen saw as his own son. He was brilliant. Prodigy is the easiest way to describe the man. He is a perfectionist. He always desired to learn new things and discover everything he could. Somewhere down the line his mind became dark and twisted, and he began experimenting on humans. Worse, he started experimenting on citizens of Konoha. When he had discovered Orochimaru's treachery, he confronted him. Though he had planned on killing the boy for his disgusting experiments, he couldn't find it in his heart to eliminate the boy who he saw as his own son. One of his greatest mistakes indeed. Tsunade Senju was a girl with a bright future, a genius with masterful chakra control. Her lineage is incredibly impressive, related to 2 kages, the Shoda Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and the Nidaime Hokage, Tobarama Senju. She is the greatest medical nin in the world, but lost herself when not only her little brother perished during the 3rd Great Shinobi War, but her fiancé passed as well. Hatred spewed forth and caused her to despise her home. She found solace in drinking and gambling to help dim the everlasting pain that haunted her as she traveled the elemental nations. She has never stepped foot in Konoha since she left. Jiraiya was a dim-witted boy that you couldn't help but laugh at. He wasn't that brightest and did better through trial and error, which contrasted his 2 old team members. He was a genius in his own right and worked hard to keep up with his 2 teammates. He eventually took on his own team and raised them to become splendid shinobi. Minato Namikaze was Jiraiya's son in everything but blood and was excited when his student became the Yondaime Hokage. Soon after, Minato perished with his wife, causing Jiraiya to spiral down a well of depression. He found comfort in brothels, writing his books, but never stopped working for Konoha. He lost himself in his work and rarely visited anymore unless it was important. His aged mind drifted to a scar that would never heal, the death of his lovely wife Biwako Sarutobi. She was as wise as himself, maybe even more so. They fit together like 2 puzzle pieces. Though their opinions sometimes clashed, like how she believed women were stronger than men, while he didn't believe they were weaker than men. He believed everyone to start off as an equal and made a path for themselves. She was his soulmate and made his life happy. But like all good things, it came to an end. A catastrophic event took her from him when the Kyuubi broke free and slaughtered a large portion of the village. So many innocent lives were lost that day. The wise man grew to despise, loathe the existence of the Kyuubi. He truly hoped it would suffer for an eternity for the suffering it caused to his family and village. Much to his dismay, the hatred carried over to a certain blonde boy for a short time. He wasn't foolish to believe the boy to be the QB, but he hated what was inside of him. The thought of the boy brought up painful memories that he wished to avoid for a while. However, after almost 5 years he was finally ready to try and take care of the boy like his father and mother would have wanted. Snapping out of his thoughts, he decided it was finally time to greet the Jinchuriki. Forming a hand sign, a young man that looked around 17 or 18 appeared in front of him. His face is hidden behind a white porcelain dog mask, only showing his silver spiky gravity-defying hair. He wore a jet black sleeveless t-shirt that exposed his shoulders with a light gray vest over top, jet black pants with white bandages tied around right leg alongside a kunai pouch, matching shinobi sandals that went up to his knees. The hilt of a sword poked up over his right shoulder. "Inu, I need you to locate the Jinchuriki, Naruto, and bring him to me," Hiruzen ordered. The ANBU member did not respond vocally but nodded and vanished in a swirl of leaves. His first stop would most likely be the orphanage, but word has gotten around that the demon has been sleeping in the park. He didn't understand why the boy had chosen to sleep in the park instead of a bed under a roof, but guessed that they were just rumors to dehumanize the child. Konoha ANBU Inu. Though it's difficult to tell underneath the emotionless white dog mask, Inu is ecstatic. He has been waiting for Naruto to be introduced to the Hokage since the day he noticed the treatment in the orphanage. Discreetly, Inu had been the one changing his used diapers, or torn clothes when no one else would. He wanted to do more but was forbidden from interacting with Naruto. Hopefully this would be the start of a new, brighter chapter in the young blonde's life. It is considered an honor to be personally called in by the Hokage. For an orphan to be called in to visit the Hokage, it could mean anything. Usually orphans would meet with the Hokage if he saw latent talent that could be used for the good of Konoha. Naruto clearly fit those perimeters, and with him being the Jinchuriki, that only opened future potential. Inu appeared in a swirl of leaves in front of the wooden orphanage. It's a decently sized building that could hold quite a few children and has a sizable back and front yard. A large beautiful oak tree lazily sat in the front yard with branches leaning over the roof of the orphanage. A small wooden swing is attached to it, slowly rocking back and forth in the gentle breeze. Knocking on the front door, it opened, revealing the caretaker. She is an aged woman with noticeably graying hair, wrinkles forming on her forehead, and bags under her eyes. She wore a simple white gown with a green apron over top of it. Her brown eyes met Inu's before the woman smiled kindly at him. Behind his mask, he did not smile back. "I'm here to retrieve the orphan Naruto," Inu said blandly. The woman suddenly looked worried and nervous. Looking into her eyes, you could see her debating how to handle the situation that had just arisen. Alarms started playing in the masked shinobi's head at the possibilities for her reaction to what he said. "Sorry, ANBU-san, but that," she coughed, and quickly corrected herself. "Boy no longer lives here." Her words laced with bitterness. Inu's eyes narrowed behind the white dog mask. "What do you mean he no longer lives here?" he questioned sternly. "That boy became a danger to the other orphans, so I removed him after his 4th birthday," the caretaker said seriously. The ANBU member nodded his head noticeably before vanishing in a swirl of leaves. He would inform the Hokage of the caretaker's decision to kick a 4-year-old out on the street. However, now he would focus on the rumors going around about the demon sleeping in the park. He appeared in front of the park once again in a swirl of leaves. The park is swimming with children happily going about their business and parents sitting on benches smiling at them. These were the moments that made serving Konoha worth it. A place where children could grow up safely, parents to work without fear of bandits. After a few hours of wandering the entire park, he only stumbled upon one clue that Naruto had been here. A single tree has some trash around it, and a small nest-like bed created in the leafy canopy. A few extra set of clothes laid in the tree that matched what he got Naruto. Since the boy wasn't here right now, he was about to leave and continue searching when he overheard a disturbing conversation. "Yeah, I took out the demon 2 nights ago," a shaggy-looking man bragged. "I can't believe you actually got rid of it," replied a bald elder. "It wasn't that hard, but with the demon dead our families can rest in peace," the shaggy man said happily. Inu's eyes widened in shock over the conversation before narrowing dangerously. This man just insinuated that he killed Naruto, and so carelessly as well. Righteous fury welled up inside the ANBU member as he glared at the man, unconsciously releasing a minor amount of killing intent. Shaking his head and calming himself down, he began walking over to the man. The man who was just bragging only moments ago froze in fear as killing intent washed over him. His eyes furiously looked around trying to spot where that killing intent came from, but it quickly disappeared. Blinking his eyes, he looked forward only to spot a white porcelain dog mask in his face. "I couldn't help but overhear that you removed a demon, mind explaining?" Inu droned. The man believed he was being praised and wasted no time in telling his heroic tale. A tale where he accepted his heroic quest to remove the demon from Konoha to protect everyone. How he fought the demonic entity right here in this very park with his friend and knocked it out. How he took it far from Konoha, leaving it to die alone in the distant woods. His tale was heroic sounding, one that he believed Konoha would celebrate. They say ignorance is bliss, he just happened to experience it firsthand. Inu listened to the man's tale and heard it slightly differently. A tale where the shaggy man got paid to kidnap and or murder the Jinchuriki Naruto. How the man ambushed a 4-year-old with his friend and knocked the child out. How disgusting man left a defenseless 4-year-old out in the wilderness with no way of getting back. The man's tale sounded pathetic, weak, and cowardly. This man was about to have a really bad day. Nodding his head in acceptance to his answer, Inu immediately flashed behind him and knocked the man out with a quick jab to the neck. The elderly man beside him looked shocked as his eyes widened in disbelief. Inu paid the elder no mind and scooped up the unconscious man and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. A certain scar-headed man was about to have a new toy to play with. Konoha, Hokage's office. The wise leader sat at his desk going over some more paperwork. It's been a few hours since he sent his ANBU to retrieve Naruto, and was expecting him to return soon. He had expected him to return a lot sooner, but Konoha is a large village. It would be difficult to locate a 4-year-old. He laid back on his chair and swirled around to look out his office windows. The view made the long hours worth it. You could see the Hokage monument, and most of the village and the outskirts of the surrounding forest. He enjoyed watching over the citizens like a father would look over his children. The village seemed livelier today. People looked to be drinking out in public and cheering, quite like the QB festival. He wondered what they were celebrating today. His old mind couldn't think of any holidays. Shrugging his shoulders, he figured he would find out later tonight or tomorrow. A sudden burst of chakra caught the Sandame's attention. Swirling the chair around to face his desk again, he saw Inu standing straight in front of him. Though the old man couldn't see the ANBU's face, he could see his posture has a sense of urgency. His aura has a hint of anger with sadness laced in. His eyes narrowed at the lack of a spiky blonde-haired 4-year-old. This added with the sense of urgency the ANBU is displaying and the random celebration happening in the village. It didn't take long for his wise mind to figure out what happened. Something bad happened to Konoha's Jinchuriki. Where is Naruto? Explain. Hiruzen questioned sternly. Flashback. Earlier with Inu, Hiro sat in a rusty metal chair beside a rusty metal table. A small light bulb dangled over the table, only illuminating a small circle around him, leaving the area around him terrifyingly dark. His legs and arms were tied respectively to the chair, leaving much to be desired. He couldn't remember how he got here. One moment he was telling his heroic tale, the next moment he's in a dank room alone. A metal door from the darkness opened slowly, screeching painfully as it echoed off the empty walls. Multiple footsteps could be heard throughout the darkness, then only one pair was heard slowly stepping towards him. The footsteps soon relieved themselves to be a taller man looking to be around 20 or so. Ibiki Marino has been part of the torture and interrogation department for 3 years. While the man was only 19, he managed to build himself a terrifying reputation as a mindbreaker. He carried an aura of fear with him that matched his scarred flesh. Ibiki is a large and imposing man which helped with intimidation. His head is covered in a purple cap with a metal plate with the insignia for the Hidden Leaf Village. His face has one large scar diagonally on the right side of his face, and cold piercing black eyes. He wears a long-sleeved dark purple button-up shirt with black pants, a black belt tied around his waist, and a black trench coat and gloves. Emu delivered a toy for him to play with but made sure to make him understand the information of Konoha's Jinchuriki took priority. From what he was told, this older man attacked a child and left him for dead somewhere in the forest. Somehow the older man thought what he did was heroic and just. He is going to have fun with this one. He sat down opposite of the terrified man staring at him coldly. A few minutes of terrifying silence passed before he decided to grace his toy with his voice. Hiro, retired chunin of Konohagakure after obtaining a large wound on his left eye and a shattered kneecap. This is correct, right? Ibiki asked coolly. Hiro nodded his head. He was on a mission with his team when they encountered a group of mangy IWA shinobi who attacked them. He was slashed in the eye, causing him to lose most of his eyesight. To add salt in the wound, they had hit him with a Doton Jutsu, shattering his right kneecap, ending his shinobi career. Good, now tell me how you dealt with the Jinchuriki. The scarred man stated. Hiro's eyes narrowed. He was asked a similar question not too long ago before he was knocked out. Is that why I'm here? The older male thought curiously. Pondering that question in his head, he decided to tell a more subdued version of his tale to the scarred man. He could tell it wasn't the time to be too boisterous. After explaining the story once more, he watched the scarred man stare at him. His black eyes met his own eyes and just stared. It unnerved him. He hadn't seen the guy blink more than twice. That couldn't be healthy. So, let me get this straight. You attacked a 4-year-old in a park and left him for dead somewhere off in the woods? Ibiki asked coldly. That boy wasn't a boy. It was a demon who killed my family. The older man insisted. Oh yes, sometimes I forget how a newborn child caused so much death and destruction. The scarred man retorted sarcastically. The demon took the form of the child to trick us. Hiro screamed. Ibiki stared long and hard at the pathetic excuse of a man in front of him. He truly believed everything he just said, and there was so much hatred and bitterness laced in his words. Interesting, Ibiki thought. Who hired you to remove the demon from Konoha? Ibiki asked, getting back on track. He took out a kunai and started prodding his fingers. Hiro eyed the kunai warily. And none of your business, Hiro said, cursing his slight stutter. Ibiki slammed the kunai into the table, going right through it, causing Hiro to jump. Well, jump as much as a man tied to a rusty chair could. Ibiki stared at the man with a blank face, but inside he was smirking. This is too easy. I think you will find it is my business, he said, slowly retracting the kunai from the table. Hiro continued to stare at the blade, trying desperately to ignore it. It wouldn't do to show any fear to an interrogator, that's how they get you. To his dismay, he was shaking ever so slightly and sweating nervously. The scarred man reached into a pouch on the side of his leg and pulled out 4 additional kunai and lined them up on the table in front of him. Here is what we're going to do. We're going to play a game of lives. Each kunai is a life, and when you run out you die. Sounds fun, right? Ibiki chuckled at the older man's fearful eyes. I'm going to ask you a question, and you're going to answer truthfully. If you lie or fail to answer, you lose a life. Simple enough? Ibiki finished. Who hired you to remove the demon from Konoha? Ibiki asked again. Hiro eyed the kunai on the table nervously, then looked into his interrogator's eyes. He looked completely serious with his threat of death. But would he really kill me if he needed the information? Probably. He could just go grab the other guy that did this with me, he concluded. The next question in his head, was his employer worth his life? That was a simple answer. No, but first let's find out what I'm dealing with. He stayed silent, staring at the kunai, waiting. With incredible speed, the scarred man picked up one of the kunai and flung with right past his head, embedding it into the wall. He was just gifted a free haircut. That's 1 life down, same question as before. Ibiki said coolly. Kane Kuro. Hiro answered quickly. Kane Kuro, high-class merchant on the Civilian Council? Ibiki asked, getting a nod for an answer. Interesting. Where did you leave the demon? He asked. Hiro's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. He wasn't willing to let the demon come back after how much trouble he went through to get him out. We picked a random direction and left it in a random spot far from Konoha, Hiro stated, eyes slightly drifting off into the darkness. A second kunai went flying by his head, cutting off more of his hair. 2 lives down. Same question, Ibiki said sternly. Receiving no answer, he threw a third kunai, slightly grazing his head. Not enough to cut, but enough to feel the blade. 3 lives down, 2 left. Same question, he said coldly. Hiro was beginning to panic. That knife was a little too close for comfort. We left it near the border of Kawa no Kuni, river country, he said with a heavy sigh. Who was working with you? Ibiki asked, slightly calmer than before. Noah. The older man answered in a defeated tone. Behind his one-way glass window, Inu disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The older man was easier to break than he thought he would be, but that just made his life easier. The Hokage is not going to be pleased with this information. Flashback end. The Hokage was indeed not pleased with what he was told. This is a bad scenario altogether. Their Jinchuriki is out there alone and unclaimed. They have a powerful tool out there just waiting to be found, and worse, no one knew that they had the Kyubi. Everyone believed the Yondaime Hokage killed the demon. So if someone found the boy, Konoha would have absolutely no claim. This was very bad. Tenzo. A teenager appeared in front of the old Hokage. He wore a white porcelain that resembled a cat with red and green markings. He has short brown hair that went to his shoulders. He wore the same uniform as Inu, sword and all. Arrest Kane Kuro and bring him to TNI, Hiruzen ordered. The brown-haired ANBU nodded his head slightly before vanishing in a familiar swirl of leaves. Orders, sir? Inu asked. He desperately wanted to find Naruto, not because of his Jinchuriki status, but for personal reasons. His sensei's last request was for the boy to be seen as hero. While most of Konoha seemed to ignore his dying wish, he did not. Gather a squad of ANBU and scour the border for any trace of Naruto. Hopefully we can find him before someone or something else does, the old Hokage said tiredly. Inu nodded his head and vanished as well, leaving the Hokage to himself. Hiruzen slumped back in his chair and let out a tired sigh. He failed because he was too cowardly to face Naruto earlier. The blonde-haired boy is out there somewhere, alone and scared. Most likely dead from predators or captured by bandits to be sold as child labor or worse. If the boy is still alive, he could only hope that he wasn't starving to death. Kitsun Sanctuary, the Masumi clan compound. The Masumi clan compound is quiet, an uncomfortable silence loomed over the entire area. You would almost assume that everyone is asleep with how silent it is. However, the blazing sun is still shining brightly in the sky. Of course it was starting to set, but it is far too early to be asleep. That begged the question, why is it so quiet? The entire clan sat around the dining room table watching their newest family member eat. They wanted to look away from the horrific scene, but they couldn't no matter how bad they wanted to. There is no way to describe the blonde vacuum they were witnessing. Bowl after bowl of ramen was consumed in seconds. There is no mess, no drops of broth left on the table. Not a single noodle left untouched. It is perfectly captured in the black hole known as Naruto. Another, please. The boy chirped happily. Ricky kept his word and made ramen for dinner tonight, and it is just as good as the ramen he got at the food stand. He just finished another bowl of delicious ramen and wanted to eat so much more. Is this what heaven's like? He thought mystically, though there isn't any more, Rika said in shock. He now understood why Akane, Aki, and Dano went pale when he mentioned making ramen for dinner tonight. This scene would forever be etched into the memories of every single member of the Masumi clan. But I could eat at least a few more bowls, Naruto pouted. How could anyone deprive him of something so majestic? This is the food of the gods, there is no other way to describe it. He wondered if he could make a religion based on ramen, he would lead the world to a new age of understanding via ramen. A beautiful sight indeed. Akane, Aki, and Dano stared at the blonde with their jaw hitting the table. He could eat a few more, they all thought together. It was funny after the first bowl, worrying after the 7th, disturbing after the 15th. This was worse than the ramen stand, and they would have nightmares of this. Looking into each other's eyes, they made a silent pact. They would keep Naruto away from ramen whenever possible. Naruto blinked in confusion. You all haven't even finished your first bowl yet, he shouted in shock. How could they not be enjoying the sanctity that is ramen? Did they not like ramen? That thought scared Naruto a little deep down. All the members of the Masumi clan blinked at that, then looked down. Indeed, none of them had finished a single bowl yet. Hell, most of them haven't even taken a single bite yet. Sadly, that also meant none of them were getting seconds. Thank goodness none of them were avid ramen eaters. So, Naruto, did you like my ramen? Rika asked knowingly. Even though it was a scarring event, he enjoyed seeing someone eat his food with such passion. This is what a chef lives for. Ya databao. Naruto chirped excitedly, his verbal tick showing once more through sheer excitement. Rika patted himself on the back. He's still got it. Glad you liked it so much. My cooking is quite amazing, he said proudly, getting a few groans from around the table. He looked around the table at the groans, then started pouting childishly. The rest of the dinner went quickly as everyone finished off their one bowl of ramen. They would occasionally look up at the blonde child and shiver as he stared at their food like a vulture waiting for any sign of scraps. While some were slightly annoyed that they only got one bowl, which they would admit is delicious but wouldn't tell Riku and inflate his ego even more, they were happy overall with the blonde's cheerful attitude. He added a hint of excitement to the compound that everyone enjoyed. Soon after dinner finished off, the Kitsuns left to go about their own business. The room emptied, only leaving Akane, Aki, Dano and Naruto. The room was silent for a bit while they rubbed their stomachs in satisfaction. Aki looked over to Akane curiously before a sly smile popped up on her face. Akane-chan, want to spar? We can show Naruto what Kenjutsu is, Aki asked in a hopeful tone with sparkling eyes. Akane looked over to Naruto, who is just watching the conversation with interest. She didn't want to leave Naruto out of any fun, but it had been a couple days since she practiced with anyone. Plus, Aki did have a good point. This would be a great opportunity to show Naruto what Kenjutsu is. She has talked about it with a passion but has yet to show him it. Sure, it's been a while since I've crushed you, Akane said mirthfully, receiving a challenging glare in return. Oh ho, you're going to regret that, Akane-chan, Aki retorted with a chuckle and an evil glint in her eyes. While Akane has been playing with her new blonde fish cake toy, she continued to practice. She quickly got up, motioning for everyone to follow her, as she walked out of the room. Akane smiled and followed closely. Naruto eyed Dano curiously, who just shrugged. He got up and followed the two red-headed Kitsuns, intent on seeing their spar. From what he has learned in his short time here, Akane is a prodigy in Kenjutsu, but Aki is nothing to sneeze at either. The Masumi clan compound, training ground. Akane and Aki stood in an evenly trimmed grassy field around 30 feet from each other. They both picked up their training ninjato on their way here. Naruto sat on the sidelines against a tree watching them both prepare for their spar. Dano was standing in between them as a referee. You both ready? Dano asked, eyeing them both. Oh yeah, the Red Devil is going down today, Aki said energetically. She has been asking for a spar for a while but continued to get a not now or maybe later. It annoyed her slightly, but with her renewed interest in Kenjutsu due to the blonde fish cake, she finally accepted. You realize you have red hair too, right? Akane retorted with a sly chuckle. The Red Devil is her friendly nickname Aki gave her because of her vicious swordsmanship. She wasn't known for holding back very often. So, I'm a red-haired angel. Two forces destined to clash. We are destined to be rivals, Aki shouted dramatically. Off in the distance under a tree, a blonde fish cake snorted. Really? Akane said dryly. Yup. Aki smirked. Well, if you're both done with your pre-battle monologue, can we start the fight? I'm getting tired and the sun is almost out of the sky, Dano said, yawning into his hand. Maybe he could sneak off and go to bed early tonight? You're no fun, Dano-kun. Aki pouted. Anyways, Hajime. Dano waved lazily as he walked over to the sidelines and laid down beside Naruto. He should be ready to end the fight if things got too heated, but he is tired. Maybe later, he thought sleepily, closing his eyes. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves in the trees. The grass swayed back and forth as both fighters locked eyes with each other. When the wind died down, they both charged at each other. With impressive speed for children, they both clashed in the middle. Wooden ninjato versus wooden ninjato. You've improved your strength, Aki-chan. Akane complimented. She took a step back, catching Aki off guard as she stumbled forward, losing her footing due to putting so much force into her attack. Akane took advantage of her opening and went to stab her in the chest, but was quickly parried by Aki. Aki rushed into her guard and went for a fatal slash at the neck. She didn't expect Akane to have already recovered from her parry and dodged to the left. Akane took advantage and slashed at her side. She took a hard hit to the side, falling to the ground roughly. Instincts cried out to her as she rolled to the side, avoiding a slash that would have cut her in half. Quickly jumping onto her feet, she got some distance between herself and Akane. And you're just as deadly as ever, Akane-chan. Aki commented with a wince. Off on the sidelines, Naruto watched the fight continue. He could only imagine how deadly they would be if they were using real swords. Naruto couldn't help but think that getting slashed with a wooden sword would probably still hurt badly. He looked over to Dano, who has his eyes closed and breathing in and out slowly. Naruto started to sweat at that since he is supposed to be refereeing the fight. They're pretty good. Naruto commented out loud, trying to wake Dano up. Yeah, but they are just putting on a show right now. Dano commented without moving at all. While he wasn't watching the fight, he could hear their movements with his ears. How could you know? You're not even watching? Naruto grumbled. He did not get a response and sighed, looking back at the spar. He wondered if he would be good at Kenjutsu. Aki is panting lightly, keeping her eyes on Akane, who watched her just as closely. She smirked. At least Akane is panting as well. She's already got one debilitating wound on me. In a real fight she would have already won. I've still got a long way to go, Akane-chan, Aki thought as she looked over her opponent. Akane took a step forward, panting lightly, studying her opponent. Although she is technically in the lead with the wound she managed to inflict, she is rather impressed with Aki's performance. Dano and her must have been practicing a lot. She thought while smiling, though she's let her guard down slightly to catch her breath. She mused. Akane took advantage and rushed Aki, taking her by surprise at the sudden movement. She vertically slashed her ninjato at her collarbone but got blocked weakly by Aki. Aki cringed at the pain at her side when she took the force of the blow. Their wooden swords were in a clash of dominance before an idea struck Aki's head. She stopped putting pressure into her defense, causing Akane to falter. Taking advantage of her stumble, she went to slash at her ankles but got rewarded with a punch in the face with her opponent's hilt. Falling onto the ground in a daze, she got ready to move before she felt the wooden blade resting at her neck. And that's game, Aki-chan. Her fellow redhead said with amusement. Did you have to hit me so hard? I'm going to have such a bad headache, Aki complained, holding her head in her hands. Even though she lost the spar, it still gave her a little more experience. Sorry, but you gave me such a good opening. I just couldn't resist. Akane said mirthfully. It was supposed to be my opening, she retorted hotly. She got a chuckle in response and looked up with a glare. It quickly changed to a smile as an offering hand dangled in front of her. She took it and raised herself off the ground. Thanks for the spar, Akane-chan, she said with a small smile. That was awesome. A loud voice called out to them from the side. Indeed, the blonde boy was running at them, leaking amazement. It looked like they managed to put on a good show. Thanks, fish cake, Aki said cutely with a gleeful smile plastered on her face. All she got in return was an annoyed glare from him and a bop on the head from Akane. Glad you liked it, Naruto-kun. You think you'd be interested in giving it a go sometime? Akane asked, hoping she made a good impression on him. Of course. I'm going to be awesome, Naruto chirped excitedly. Not to break up the moment, but can we go now? It's getting dark outside, and I'm tired, Dano commented from the side while walking towards them. He yawned into his hand and walked past them towards the house. The other three shrugged and followed him. Aki ran ahead to walk beside Dano like usual, leaving Akane and Naruto to walk behind them. Akane looked up towards the darkening sky and let out a tired yawn. The Masumi clan compound, Naruto's room. A few more hours passed before the three Kitsuns went off to bed, leaving Naruto alone in his room. His clothes from earlier laid scattered across the wooden floor. The moonlight shined through the window, illuminating the room. Naruto rested in his bed in his pajamas, looking up at the dark ceiling, thinking. His mind wandered as he thought over everything that has changed for him. He was kidnapped from his old home, Konoha, and left for dead in a forest who knows where. Rescued by talking majestic foxes and led into another dimension that is ruled by said majestic foxes. That somehow, he has their leader sealed inside of him, which happened to be the Kyuubi. He's still trying to wrap his head around that detail. In that short time though, they gave him a new home, friends, and hopefully a family. He wondered what would have happened if he stayed in Konoha. He'd probably still be sleeping in that comfortable tree. It might not have been a soft bed, but he knew how to choose a comfortable branch. Sadly, he was forced to leave behind his treasures. He didn't know where they came from, or who gave them to him, but he cherished them. They were just clothes to anyone else, but it was his first gift. A thought popped into his head. Has anyone noticed I'm gone? Naruto thought curiously, before a small bit of pain welled up in his heart. If they have, they're probably happy I'm gone, he thought sadly. he shook his head and sighed. It wasn't the time for sad thoughts like that. His thoughts drifted off to his friends and family, Kenichi, Akane, Aki, Dano, Riku, Natsuko, Isamu, Kigo, Hana, Jin, Shizuka, and the few others he's met. Kenichi felt like what he would assume a father figure is like. The older Kitsun seemed to care for him, but he could just be worried for what I hold instead. He didn't like that line of thought and squashed it immediately, but he knew it lingered in the recesses of his mind. Akane, Aki, and Dano brought a soft smile to the sleepy blonde's face. He considered them to be his best friends, and hold a special place in his heart already. Akane seemed to want to get to know him better and tried to get him involved in things. Aki felt like what a sister would be like, constantly teasing and picking on him but not meaning any harm. One day she won't call me fish cake, one day, he thought hopefully. Dano is an interesting guy. He seemed more laid back than everyone else. The Kitsuns he met in the park were nice as well. He only met them shortly, but he can tell they will be good friends one day. Shizuka piqued his interest the most for reasons he couldn't really explain. He hoped to play with them all again, especially the energetic duo Natsuko and Isamu. Their race yesterday was so much fun, even after he lost it was still a blast. That reminded him of something very important. A certain red-haired Kitsun pranked him, and he is going to get her back. It would be something embarrassing, something frustrating, something beautifully evil. He chuckled darkly in his mind as he began crafting devious ideas. In another room, said Redhead shivered in her sleep. Naruto's eyes started getting heavier and heavier as his mind continued to wander onto different subjects. Soon his breathing slowed and relaxed. His mind drifted off to sleep. Unknown, darkness, that is the only thing Naruto could see. A cold feeling of loneliness filled the air all around him as the darkness continued to swallow him whole. Since he fell through the park floor in front of those two strange kids, he has spent his last couple nights in darkness. Below, above, and all around, nothing but the cold dark abyss. He couldn't tell if he was falling or floating in nothingness. The darkness felt familiar though, like he had been here before. It's a feeling he couldn't explain. It felt like hours before he heard a sound echoing around him, the sound of stone cracking. Water rushed around his small body as he laid back against the cold stone flooring. He blinked his eyes trying to adjust to the sudden change of lighting. His eyes stared up at the curved stone ceiling blankly. His head turned slightly to both sides examining the new area he found himself in. It looked like he was dropped into a sewer. The walls were made of stone with large cracks throughout it. Dark green moss grew out of the cracks. 3 different sized pipes ran alongside the walls. The 2 smaller ones were connected strangely. One was a dark blue while the smaller one wrapped around it was a forest green. The green pipe looked alive, like it is trying to merge with the dark blue one. The larger red pipe was separated by a large margin and felt dangerous. Standing up and he leaned up against a wall resting against it. Where am I? He thought worriedly. His eyes drifted to both paths laid out before him. Looking at the 2 directions he could start walking weren't appealing. Both directions were mostly identical except for one be slightly brighter than the other. With a sigh he started walking towards the brighter path of the 2 paths given to him. He kept his hand on the wall as he continued walking. In a short time, he came to a fork in the road which offered 3 different paths. 2 of the 3 paths looked like the one he was walking down the entire time, while the third gave off the sound of rushing water. Choosing to follow the sound of water, he turned to the right path, continued walking forward. The small river of water started picking up pace the closer he got to the sound of rushing water. It started getting harder to keep his footing on the stone with the rapid water pushing him. After a few more minutes of walking he arrived at a large circular tower that extended up and down. The river of water rushed off the ledge creating a waterfall. Naruto used all his strength to hold onto the wall as he peered over the edge and saw a whirlpool of water draining into a dark void. The darkness felt even colder than the darkness he was in earlier, and that scared him. He immediately backed off from the ledge and ran from the circular room back the way he came. As he ran, he tried to slow his heart and control himself. He wanted to cry for reasons he couldn't explain, and at the same time the water started rising and getting faster. The water rose to his waist and picked him up, dragging him back towards the previous room. He tried swimming against the rapid currents, even digging his fingers into the stone wall, but he wasn't strong enough as he was launched off the side into the maelstrom below. After a few seconds of struggling he was pulled under the water and sucked into the darkness that brought out that uncontrollable fear. His mind went blank. He woke up back at the intersection with the water level returned to normal. He sat up and looked around in a daze. The original path he took is now barred with a steel grate. A wall that is strong enough to protect him from whatever is on the other side. He could no longer hear rushing water down that path. It is eerily silent now. He looked down the 2 available paths. Both looked identical. Rising to his feet shakily, he randomly chose a path and started walking forward. As he continued to walk down the never-ending tunnel, he decided to take a short break and sat down against a wall, submerging his legs in water again. The familiar sound of stone cracking whispered in his ear. With only a short warning, the wall behind him shattered, making him lose his balance and fall backwards. Strangely, none of the water followed him. Darkness surrounded him again, but it was different than last time. Unlike last time, where there was nothing but darkness, this one has glowing green chains dangling all around him. They felt warming and tried reaching out to him. Eventually one managed to ensnare him, and like dominoes each chain latched onto his body. Naruto didn't fight the chains, they felt so safe and warm. Naruto rested against the chains like a hammock, savoring the warmth they gave off as he hung above the never-ending abyss below him. The chains, after a while fully wrapped around his body like a cocoon, began pulling him up. It started off slowly but sped up gradually. Naruto watched as the chains continued pulling him faster and faster, and soon spotted a green light above him. It looked like the entrance to another room. Just as he was about to reach the light, the chains were severed, but Naruto's momentum continued sending him forward. He found himself running upright into a large open room, and with the sudden introduction to water he tripped, falling face first with a loud splash. He pushed himself up onto his knees gently. After wiping his face, he started examining the new room in front of him. It is the largest room he has seen so far in this strange sewer. It is a rectangular stone room with large crack. Luminescent dark green moss flourished in the cracks. The stone room went higher than the Hokage's monument. It has a large steel gate resting in front of him with a large piece of paper with the kanji 4 seal plastered in the center. Behind the gate is an uncomfortable darkness. Instincts told him to stay away from it. A massive red slitted eye opened at the sound of splashing water and looked through the large gate in front of him. It had been sleeping since it was imprisoned, regaining its strength. Its crimson eyes narrowed as they spotted a spiky blonde-haired kid looking around the room. Deciding to make its presence known, it spoke. "So, my warden finally decided to come visit me." It growled out lowly towards the now shaken kid. Naruto jumped backwards, landing on his butt at the sudden loud voice. Looking towards the sound, he spotted a glowing red-slitted eye studying him. He quickly jumped to his feet, ready to run. Who are you?" Naruto called out fearfully. His question seemed to amuse the creature behind the gate. "I am the being," started to say, suddenly standing up and walking towards the large metal gate. In its massive glory stood a legendary-sized orange fox with 9 large tails swishing back and forth behind it aggressively. "Feared Kyubi no Kitsun." The Kyubi roared out, flashing his large sharp canines. Naruto's first instinct was to run at the sheer size of the creature behind the gate. Then his eyes widened and turned to stars as he saw the large fox standing in front of him. Out of everything he could find in this terrible sewer, he didn't expect to find a large amazing fox. He fought down the sudden urge to pet the giant fox, and chose to just stare. The Kyubi, also known as Kurama, eyed the kid strangely. He expected a bit more terror, fear, maybe even anger from the kid. No, instead the blonde kid stared at him with so much awe confused him. Then again, his form is spectacular and deserved more love and devotion. Deciding to try and get his desired effect, he coughed into his large paw. "Did you not hear me, whelp? I am the great Kyubi no Kitsun, the strongest of the 9 Bijou. My very existence causes destruction and terror from my very presence." The Kyubi roared with pride. Naruto was taken out of his awe when the majestic fox roared at him again. He didn't know what a Bijou was, but apparently, he is the strongest. Then something clicked in Naruto's head as he reviewed what he had just been told more closely. He eyed the giant kitsune behind the steel gate critically before the gears in his mind clicked into place. "Wait, are you Kurama?" Naruto shouted back at the fox with wide eyes. Kurama just blinked dumbly at the blonde-haired kid. "This is unexpected," the 9-tailed fox thought. Somehow, instead of getting the desired fear, it just got him more interested. Not only that, this human somehow knew his name. He needed answers from the kid, and was going to get them, damn it. "How do you know my name, human?" Kyubi questioned in a more dangerous tone. "Kenichi told me about you," Naruto shouted back. He still hadn't figured out that the Kyubi could hear him just fine and wasn't really yelling at him, he just has a loud voice. But he is too excited to finally meet the leader of the kitsunes to think about that. Kurama's eyes narrowed at the kid's answer and studied him critically. "Kenichi knows better than to give my name away so carelessly," he thought seriously. He decided to go through the kid's memories and figure out what is going on. He watched the kid's life flash through his mind. The kid was treated like a demon for housing him, watching all the neglect, abuse and hatred slowly destroy the kid. He saw the kid get ambushed at a park and wake up in a forest surrounded by his children. Much to his surprise, he watched the kid enter the Kitsun sanctuary. He smiled as he watched the kid with his children. "I see, kid. Yes, my name is Kurama." The large kitsune responded in a much friendlier tone. "So why are you in a sewer? I thought you were supposed to be inside me," Naruto asked, very much confused why the awesome fox was living in a damp place like a sewer and not a forest or a cave. Then he voiced another question. "Why am I in a sewer?" he said, blinking dumbly. "I am inside you, kid. This is what your mind looks like," Kurama said with a hint of amusement in his eyes. Frankly, his mind is in terrible condition. It felt like someone slapped his bowl of ramen out of his hands. "My mind is a sewer. How is that fair?" he mentally yelled. Deciding to voice his opinions. "Why is my mind a sewer?" Naruto shouted in shock. Your mind reflects your life, and in your short life you've been treated as trash, so your mind becomes a place suited for it. The QB stated calmly. He normally wouldn't be this helpful, or even kind to his warden, but this kid has fox blood and is welcomed in by his kind. In his eyes, that made him one of his own children. He wondered how the kid even had fox blood in him. Can I change it? Naruto asked. He'd rather it be something nicer, not something so depressing. Yes and no. It will change as your mind heals from the damage that your short life has endured. It could take years before your mind changes into something healthier. Kurama answered. Naruto looked down at the water watching his reflection, slightly put down from the fact that his mind took the shape of a sewer. With a heavy sigh he looked back up to the mighty fox. Thank you, Kurama, for answering my questions, he said with a small smile. The nine-tailed fox sat down with his tails resting in the water. It's not a problem, Kit. Kurama responded with a faint smile. Naruto looked around the room and frowned. So, how do I release you? I don't like seeing you trapped in a sewer, Naruto asked in curiosity. He knew Kurama's family was worried sick about him, and knowing he is trapped in a sewer might upset them. Kurama stared at the kid with wide eyes. For years he wanted his freedom and tried to manipulate his last two hosts, and this one just wants to. Kurama thought this over. If the kid pulled off the seal, I could break out easily, but it would kill him painfully. From his memories, it seems like my children have a plan for getting me out soon. He mused, then decided to answer, You aren't able to release me. He lied smoothly. Oh, Naruto said sadly, looking back down at his feet. That wasn't the answer he wanted to hear. He couldn't free him, or even make the living conditions better. That made him feel bad. Kurama sensed the negative emotions welling up inside the blonde kid, and tried calming him down. While you can't release me, I believe my children have a plan to free me. Do not worry, I have a feeling I won't be in here much longer, the QB said soothingly. Years ago, Kurama wouldn't have believed he would be trying to cheer up his host. He downright would have laughed at them, then ate them for making such a terrible joke. How the tables have turned. Naruto smiled at the reassurance. Finally, he could no longer hold on to his urges that were screaming at him. Can I please pet you? He asked randomly. The nine-tailed fox, strongest species alive, walking disaster, stared blankly at the question the kid just asked. On normal circumstances, I normally wouldn't allow you to pet me. Just this once, I'll allow it, Kurama said carefully. The kid squealed happily and ran forward into the large cage. If this was anyone else, he would have immediately killed the kid and taken over his body. Naruto couldn't contain the giddy feeling as he ran into the dark cage. He didn't get the chance to pet the kitsune when they found him in the forest. He was scared at the time. When they were in their human form, it felt awkward to try and pet their tails. Finally, he was given the chance to pet his very first fox. And pet the giant fox he did. His fur is the softest thing he had ever felt. It is more comfortable than his bed and his legendary tree branch. Does every fox have soft fur like this? I wonder if Akane-chan has soft fur, he thought, already planning to find out. Kurama watched the kid pet and rub his face into his fur with amusement. His own children once did this to him when they were young. Those were happier times before he was imprisoned inside that damn woman. No use thinking about her, she's already dead, he mused. He laid back down on the ground and closed his eyes, letting the blonde-haired kid play in his fur. A while passed and Naruto found himself resting against the large fox. His hands had gotten tired after petting him for what felt like an hour. Kurama had snorted when he had collapsed with exhaustion. Kit, it's morning. Time for you to get going. Kurama mumbled. It is? How do I leave? Naruto asked curiously. Honestly, he didn't even know how he got to this room to begin with. He didn't think he could find his way back to the beginning. It's your mind, Kit, just will yourself to wake up, the fox stated. Oh, I forgot, Naruto said lamely. It took Kurama every ounce of strength to not facepalm. He had truly forgotten he was in his own mind due to fluff overdose. See you later, Kurama. He chirped happily and blinked out of existence. Goodbye, Kit, he said as his voice echoed off the cold sewer walls. His body rested in the cold sewer water, making him uncomfortable. Sighing in annoyance, he closed his eyes and tried to fall back to sleep. He wouldn't be here much longer. The Masumi clan, Naruto. Naruto opened his dull sapphire eyes and stared up at the roof blearily. He stretched his arms above his head, wiggling his fingers before rubbing his eyes tiredly. His arms fell limply like wet noodles to his sides as he continued to lazily stare up at the ceiling, still trying to wake up completely. His eyes slowly changed from a dull blue to a bright, endless ocean filled with energy. With a healthy yawn, he folded over the comforter and kicked his legs over the edge of his bed. His feet touched the cold wooden flooring while he hunched over with his arms resting on his legs. He stood up lazily, stretching his arms above his head again, getting an audible pop from his joints. With a comfortable sigh, he walked over to the bathroom, ignoring the slight creaking of the flooring, and raised the toilet seat to relieve himself. A few seconds later, he put the toilet seat down and flushed before walking over to the bathroom sink to wash his hands. He turned on the water and waited a few seconds for it to heat up before scrubbing his hands with scentless soap. With the Kitsuns having such sensitive noses, they needed to use scentless shampoos to not overwhelm their senses. Looking into the mirror in front of him as he brushed his teeth, he took a moment to stare at his own reflection. He finally grew enough to not have to use the footstool for simple hygienic tasks like brushing his teeth or washing his hands. Not much really changed other than the height difference, which he is content with for now. Finishing with brushing his teeth, he spit, then rinsed his mouth with water. Giving a quick full-mouth smile in the mirror, he turned to continue his routine. Hoping in the shower, he quickly bathed himself using the same brand of scentless shampoo that everyone else used. The only difference is he didn't have to pamper a fluffy tail or ears like the rest of them. He remembered when he first arrived how strange and amazing it was to see all the Kitsun people, but after a while he felt like he stood out a lot. Sure, he has fox blood in him, but not the appendages to go with it. Turning off the water, he got out of the shower and dried himself off before walking out of the bathroom to dress himself. He reached into his dresser and pushed his secret stash of instant ramen out of the way to get to his clothes. Ever since the dubbed ramen incident, the Masumi clan went out of their way to keep him from ramen. He managed to locate a ramen black market that would sell him instant ramen. Bless that ramen stand, he thought as he pulled out his outfit for the day. A simple burnt orange short-sleeved t-shirt and beige cargo shorts. Once he was dressed, he turned to leave the room. "Good morning, Kurama. Ready for another eventful day?" he shouted mentally in his normal happy attitude. "Sure thing, brat." The nine-tailed Kitsune responded from inside the seal. At some point in time, the giant Kitsune decided that calling me Kit is too affectionate, and changed it to Brat instead. In a way though, Brat is just a manlier way of calling him Kit. Naruto could still remember the day he woke up after meeting the amazing nine-tailed fox. He immediately went to tell Kenichi about it, and was joined by Akane on his way. It had been one of his more embarrassing moments. Flashback. Naruto's eyes opened slowly, staring at the ceiling in his new room. He felt like he needed to do something important, but his mind hadn't 100% caught up yet. He blinked once, twice, 3 times when his eyes shot open. The thing he needed to do came to him quickly. I need to tell Kenichi about Kurama, he realized. Throwing his blanket off him, he jumped out of bed and quickly relieved himself. Looking towards the shower, he briefly considered jumping in but figured he could shower after he shared his experience with the clan leader. Running out of the bathroom, he grabbed the doorknob leading to the hallway. He opened it and quickly closed it behind him, forgetting to change his clothes in the process. He took off down the many halls of the Masumi clan compound dressed in his plain crimson-red pajamas, trying to locate Kenichi, the 8-tailed vulpine. His mind started playing through the newly discovered information he got gifted in his dreams. He didn't really appreciate the fact that his own mind somehow became a sewer. Aki would probably tease him on that fact, though she might be jealous that he got to pet the most powerful, amazing, awesome, super fox that has ever existed. He was so caught up in his deep thinking he didn't seem to notice as he walked right past Akane. "Morning to you as well, Naruto." A familiar voice rang out from behind him, causing him to stop in his tracks. He turned around to see Akane walking towards him at a placate pace with a slight pout. She is still in her morning wear, consisting of a dark blood-red robe with gold lining with AM adorned by her heart. "Where are you off to so fast that you would ignore me?" she said with a cute pout. His hand immediately went to the back of his head while looking quite sheepish. He didn't even notice her, which made him feel slightly bad. What made it worse was the fact she is sad that he didn't. He never wanted to directly or indirectly harm his new family. "Sorry, Akane-chan, I was lost in thought," he said with a sheepish chuckle. "I'm trying to find Kenichi." She yawned into her hand before rubbing her right eye tiredly. "Oh?" she said, rising to right brow. "What do you need Tusan for?" she asked curiously. Stopping right in front of Naruto, she tilted her head to the side cutely while staring at him. Her original plan was to see if Aki wanted to bathe with her, but her curiosity was piqued. "It's a long story, but I met Kurama last night," he replied with a slight shrug and sigh. He had no reason to hide the fact that he met her grandfather from her, especially since it was her grandfather to begin with. Akane's eyes widened marginally at that bit of information. She has always wanted to meet her grandfather, and she is finally getting closer and closer to meeting him. A spark of jealousy ran through her at the thought of Naruto meeting him first, but quickly dismissed it. "That's great. Tusan should be in his office dealing with paperwork. I'll come with you," she stated, now completely awake. "All right, thanks Akane-chan," he said with a bright smile towards Akane. He stepped aside and allowed her to take the lead since he was still learning the layout of his new home. They walked in silence through the halls, but he could tell that she is excited. "How, you may ask?" Her cute fluffy tails danced behind her. He resisted the urge to touch them for now. Naruto could understand the basic concept of her excitement though. The idea of meeting a lost family member that you thought you'd never get the chance to meet would make anyone happy. He absently wondered if his parents wanted him. They both stopped in front of familiar red rice paper sliding doors that led into Kenichi's office. The same office he officially met both Kenichi and Akane. They were just about to knock on the door when they heard voices from behind it. "Give me a full report on the rescue of our scouting team," Kenichi's voice said from the opposite side of the door. The tone he took up was completely different from any other time he talked with him. After my team left Sanctuary, we immediately went to their last known location. It took a day of traveling while covering our tracks to reach their location. After reaching the scene, we found the tracks of the 3 missing Kitsuns. We followed them closely until we arrived at one of their camps. We noticed human tracks treading into their camp where the Kitsun's tracks ended. From what information we managed to gather, they were most likely caught unaware as there were no signs of a battle. We followed the tracks until we located a small encampment of vile humans. They had cages filled with human women and a smaller cage with our missing scout team. From what we managed to pick up from conversations throughout the camp, it was some sort of slave trade run by a man named Gato. We waited until the moon hung in the middle of the sky and struck them in their drunken and sleeping state. We killed them all quickly, efficiently, and burned the whole encampment to the ground. We released the prisoners and our kin then escorted the humans towards the nearest human settlement. Afterwards we quickly returned to Sanctuary with our kin in hands and left them with the Fumiko. An unknown woman's voice stated in a cold professional voice. Naruto took note that she said human with a hint of venom every time she mentioned his race. Though, that is slightly debatable with the fox blood coursing through his veins. There was a short pause after the unknown woman finished speaking. Naruto thought that maybe they realized Akane and him were listening in but was proven wrong when Kenichi started speaking again. I see, do you know of their plans for our 3 Kitsuns? He asked in a tired voice. From the sound of his voice, he had a pretty good idea of what they were going to do to them. From a conversation we overheard while scouting out the camp, they assumed that they were a rare fox breed and planned on selling them as pets or skinning them for pelts. The unknown woman spoke up and this time there was no mistaking the anger laced in her words. It made you wonder if something like this has happened before. I'm glad you reached them in time before something like that could happen, Kenichi said with a thankful tone. What do we know on this Gato man? He asked, his voice taking a dangerous edge. Kenichi clearly did not like this man already, and neither did Naruto or Akane from what they heard so far. We cross-referenced Gato's name with other scout reports and discovered some troubling information. His name came up quite a lot in the underworld and is an upcoming crime lord. He appears to be succeeding as well. The woman informed the clan head with complete honesty. The room went quiet for a moment as Kenichi seemed to ponder over the information given to him. Is he a threat to us? He asked seriously. Another short pause. I believe if given enough time he could become a threat. She paused slightly. At this current time, no. More of an inconvenience for us but a threat to humans. I suspect in the next few years he may attempt to take over of a small country, or expand his slave trading ring. She replied professionally, a small hint of venom lacing the word human again. I see, if he is not a threat to us, we will ignore him for now. Kenichi commented, thank you for your help Urza, you saved 3 young lives today. He said in a thankful tone, I would have helped no matter what. I would never allow 3 young kids to be killed by humans. The newly named Urza commented, also, we seem to have 2 eavesdroppers that don't understand privacy. She said idly, quickly sliding the door open, causing Naruto and Akane to fall in. A heavy sigh came from Kenichi. Akane, Naruto, you two should know better than to eavesdrop on other people's conversations, he said sternly. When he saw both of their expressions, he sighed again. Both have the expression of being caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Naruto finally got a look at the woman that ratted them out. She stood at 5 feet 9 inches and has a firm posture. Her long hair is a lighter shade of red compared to Akane with streaks of auburn running through it, and framed her face. Her eyes are a mystical amethyst with the familiar slit. She wore a jet-black long-sleeved shirt with chain mail underneath, dark gray pants and open-toed boots. 2 sword handles rested above her shoulders, but the most noticeable part were the 7 red and auburn tails moving energetically behind her. So, you're the boy who's been causing quite the stir in Sanctuary, Urza said confidently while she narrowed her eyes at the blonde on the ground. The lack of any recognizable kitsune parts made her want to kill the questionable human child, but her rational brain commanded her to stay her hand. The fact that he is even able to be in Kitsun Sanctuary meant he is at least some part fox. The whisker marks on his cheeks could be a Kitsune-defining trait. Naruto chuckled sheepishly. That might be me, he commented idly, rubbing the back of his head, which was very quickly becoming a defining character trait. He didn't realize him being in the sanctuary was that big of a deal. What brings you to my office, Naruto? Akane? Kenichi questioned, causing all 3 participants in the room to look at him. He hoped they didn't decide to eavesdrop on his conversations just because they were bored. Oh! Naruto shouted suddenly, his sapphire eyes lighting up in recognition. I spoke with Kurama last night, he said enthusiastically. 2 of the 3 Kitsun's eyes lit up in shock at that bit of information. He didn't think it should be that surprisingly with that fact that Kurama is sealed inside of him. Explain in detail what happened, Naruto, Kenichi said sternly. He's missed his father like the rest of his siblings, and they've all desperately wanted to speak with him again. Maybe Kurama gave them some insight. He noticed Urza and Akane looking directly at Naruto expectantly. Well, I woke up in a sewer, which from what Kurama told me is what my mind looks like, Naruto said right off the bat with a wave of depression. Anyways, I wandered around the sewers for a while going through some experiences. he stated, getting some raised eyebrows. I eventually ran into Kurama, where he called me his warden and started ranting about his titles and power for a bit. He said, absently, getting the three Kitsun to sweat a little at the complete lack of respect. I finally realized the giant fox is actually Kurama. I told him that, and he questioned me on how I knew his name. I told him you told me, and he suddenly got quiet and stared blankly for a while. Next thing I know, he's calling me Kit, which is cool, Naruto said with a cheerful smile, getting a slight smile from Kenichi. I asked him why he was in a sewer and why I was in a sewer, and he explained how my mind works. I then asked how to free him, but he said that I couldn't and had to wait on you to free him instead. He said, getting a curious look from two of the three Kitsun. Kenichi knew that wasn't entirely true. There is always a way for the sacrifice to release their demon. The fact that Kurama told him otherwise means he sees Naruto as a kit and not a human. It's possible he has some fox ancestry that we're not aware of and Kurama knows, or it could just be for the fact he is in the sanctuary at all. Then the greatest thing ever happened, Naruto shouted out excitedly, practically jumping up and down. I asked Kurama if I could pet him, and he said yes. I ran over and pet him for hours. His fur is so soft and comfy and awesome, Naruto shouted in glee, getting blank looks from everyone in the room. They listened on as Naruto continued for the next 10 minutes of describing his petting session with their father/grandfather. That's nice, Naruto. Is that all that my father said? Kenichi asked, breaking Naruto out of his rant. He found it cute at first, but the boy seemed to have a slight obsession with certain things. Ramen and foxes, which we either serve or are in general. This really is a sanctuary for him, Kenichi thought. Yup, Naruto said, a little downtrodden from being interrupted in the middle of his petting rant. Suddenly a desire he had been resisting for a while reappeared in Naruto's poor mind. His eyes idly wandered over to Akane, where he stared at her for a bit. Her two fluffy tails dancing back and forth behind her. What are you staring at me for? Akane stuttered slightly at her new friend's eyes locking onto her. His gaze is so intense, but she could tell he was in deep thought. Akane, can I pet your tails? The young blonde said in the most serious tone he could muster. He watched as Akane's face took on a new shade of red that he hadn't seen before. He also noted that her tails suddenly hid themselves behind her back. He was so busy staring at Akane he failed to notice the flabbergasted looks Kenichi and Erza were giving him. Naruto, you can't just ask a girl that, Akane shouted in embarrassment. She had noticed that he would occasionally stare at her tails, but to come out and ask such a question in public. Not to mention how he asked it so seriously. Why not? Naruto asked completely innocently with a face full of confusion. He didn't see the problem. If he had tails he would pet them all the time. You just don't. Akane argued absently, taking in the now looks of amusement her Tusan and Erza are giving her. How dare they find amusement in my embarrassment, she thought angrily, but quickly melted under Naruto's innocent eyes. Naruto, asking to pet someone's tails is really personal, she stated, getting a slight nod of understanding from Naruto, and complete nod of approval from her Tusan. Like lightning, an idea suddenly struck her. She easily suppressed her mischievous smile. Aki would be so proud. However, I will allow you to pet my tails this one time, she said with an innocent smile, taking pleasure in her father's sudden pale face. Naruto's smile could have rivaled the sun at her answer. He wasted no time and rushed over to her, quickly feeling up her soft, fluffy tails. He easily lost himself in fluffy heaven, not noticing the atomic shade of red Akane's face is taking. Nor did he notice the pale face of a father looking at them in horror. He certainly didn't notice Erza looking back and forth between two kids and horrified father with amusement. Flashback end. He snapped out of his slightly embarrassing memory as he arrived at the dining room. He could hear three familiar voices chatting inside. Sliding open the door, he is greeted with the familiar sight of his three best friends, Akane, Aki, and Dano. All three of them are sitting down chatting with each other, picking at their usual breakfast. Morning, Akane-chan, Aki-chan, Dano, Naruto called out, grabbing the Kitsun's attention. Naruto Fishy-chan Naruto. All three greeted him in their own unique way, however one still caused an irritable twitch. After years of self-discipline, he managed to mostly control the eye twitch at Aki's nicknames. She would get what is coming to her one day indeed. Sleep well, Naruto? Akane asked with a gentle smile. In Naruto's short time in the sanctuary, he managed to become one of her closest friends. He just seemed to emanate an aura of warmth and kindness that made you want to smile and be near him. Of course, Naruto replied calmly, sitting down in his usual seat. His stomach rumbled, looking down at his breakfast. Grilled fish with a small bowl of white rice, a fresh crisp garden salad, and a bowl of miso soup. This had become his usual breakfast he woke up to, which was almost as delicious as ramen. He started picking at his grilled fish, savoring the taste before asking, "So, you three have any plans for today?" "I plan on practicing my Kenjutsu for a few hours," Akane answered with a shrug as she finished off her bowl of rice. Since she started teaching Naruto on the basics of Kenjutsu, it renewed her love for the art. It helped that he wasn't half bad either, at Aki's level of skill but with his creative thinking added in. Oh, do you need a sparring partner? Aki asked excitedly, always willing to fight her rival. Kenjutsu is in her blood and her blood starts pumping every time she draws her blade, wooden or not. She wondered what real combat is like. I wouldn't mind a spar as well, Dano said lazily while picking at his garden salad. He enjoyed sparring as much as the next Kitsun, but he took more of a love in the forging process. He studied the art a lot and looked forward to creating his first masterpiece in the future. I'm always willing to crush you under my foot, Aki-chan, Akane said in a sweet tone which caused both Dano and Naruto to sweat a little. They both didn't really understand their strange rivalry but didn't question it. You say that now, but one day it'll be you under my foot. Aki tittered maniacally, causing Dano and Naruto to sweat just a tad bit more. Maybe if you stop being so predictable, Akane said, shrugging off her confidence like an annoying gnat. Unlike Naruto, who came into a fight with at least a change up in plans, Aki just went for the same basic slashes. She is still fun to fight, but too easy. Maybe Naruto's creativity could rub off on her. A chill went down her spine at that thought. That paused her crazed laughing. I am not predictable, she yelled out like someone had just killed her puppy. Her movements are completely genius and thoughtful. Her slashes are always aimed at vital spots meant to end a fight quickly and efficiently. Yes, you are, Akane rebutted. No, I'm not, Aki argued, shaking her head. Before the argument could take off any further, Naruto butted into the conversation. I wouldn't mind taking a swing at Kenjutsu again, he said, purposely making a fantastic pun in his opinion. It did not go unnoticed. That was terrible, Dano said after a few seconds of silence. The two other Kitsuns nodded their head in agreement at the terrible pun their blonde friend made. You could almost hear crickets chirping at the lameness. At speeds that could rival even the fastest creatures alive, Naruto is suddenly in a corner of the room sulking. A dark cloud illusion formed above his head, casting down a ferocious storm. It wasn't that bad, he commented lowly. All three of them stared at the blonde with blank stares. He has a powerful and strangely entertaining power to make anything dramatic. He can also subconsciously create illusions to express his emotions. The thunderstorm seemed to represent sulking. Akane coughed into her hand. Anyways, I think it would be fun to spar with you, Naruto-kun, she said gently, which in turn caused Aki to pout. Naruto immediately perked up, doing a complete 180 in his emotions. That'd be great, Akane-chan, Naruto chirped with a full-blown grin. He found that Kenjutsu felt right to him. He picked up the basic rather easily, or so he was told by his three friends. He could still remember training with Akane early on. Flashback. Naruto's body hit the ground roughly. Ugh, why do you always have to hit so hard? Naruto moaned in pain. I think Aki's right about your nickname, Red Devil, he wheezed out. He had gone in for a pseudo-fatal slice on her chest but got countered easily. He looked up at that smug look Akane is giving him and sent her a half-hearted glare. Stop being such a baby. How are you supposed to learn if I don't take advantage of your opening? She smirked while nodding her head sagely. Her belief in training is to be rough. If you make a mistake that could end up being fatal in a battle, best to correct it now. Whenever she noticed a slight opening or flaw in anyone's technique, she would take complete advantage. Did she cause them a lot of pain? Yes, she would admit to that. Would this someday save her friends' lives? Hopefully. Finally catching his breath, he responded, keeping his lukewarm glare. I'm still new to this, so of course I'm going to have openings, Databao, Naruto shouted with his infamous verbal tick reeling its head. Akane's smirk grew wider when she heard that. Exactly why I'm taking advantage of them early on. That way you won't have to deal with them in the future. Better to work out the kinks early on, Databao, she replied smoothly, teasing his verbal tick at the end. I'm starting to think you just like hitting people. Naruto deadpanned, completely ignoring her theft of his personal verbal tick. He is pretty sure that it's somehow copyrighted, Akane replied by turning her head to side and whistling innocently. She wouldn't lie and say she didn't get a little pleasure from beating her opponents into the dirt, she just wouldn't say that out loud. Her cute innocent image would be crushed. Naruto stood back up, holding onto his wooden ninjato. He took the basic stance of the Masumi clan style, prepared to fight Akane again. His left foot is extended and rotated for easy counters while his right foot hung back for an easy retreat. His wooden ninjato is angled downwards, held with both hands prepped to attack. He knew his stance isn't perfect yet, but Akane had a rough way of beating it into him. Your stance is getting better, but still too rigid. When Toussaint taught me this, he gave me exercises to help my body be more flexible. We'll have to look into that for you, Akane said to the blonde, who nodded in response. She took up the same stance as Naruto, but hers is more refined and relaxed. She had mastered the basics of her family's Kenjutsu style, and it is the only reason she felt comfortable teaching Naruto at all. Begin on your mark, Naruto, she ordered. Alright, 3, 2, 1, Hajime, Naruto shouted, rushing towards Akane quickly to get some ground. He swung his blade upwards with all his strength and speed he could muster. His wooden blade almost hit true before being blocked by Akane's blade with ease. I know I'm wearing red, Naruto, but you shouldn't charge at me like a bull, Akane quirked with a cheeky smile while putting pressure against her opponent's blade. She noticed him starting to lose to the pressure, and quickly back off. She did not let him gain any ground, however, and went in for a slash towards his right hip. Naruto saw this attack coming and moved quickly to try and block the attack. This appeared to be the wrong move as the attack broke his stance completely, leaving him wide open. This didn't go unrewarded as he was once again punted onto the floor. "How are you so good at this? You're only a few months older than I am," Naruto exclaimed. "A blade has always felt comfortable in my hand, and as the heir to the Masumi clan, it would only make sense that I would be good at our clan's specialty," Akane stated calmly, reaching her hand out for Naruto. She is considered a prodigy with limitless talent in Kenjutsu, and hoped to one day make her clan proud. The young blonde reached out and grabbed her hand and pulled himself up. "That makes sense, but one day I'm going to be just as good as you," Naruto shouted with determination. Kenjutsu felt right to him as well. He wondered if maybe his parents practiced the art at all. Maybe one day he would find out. Flashback end.